Thank you for joining Studio 1776 tonight. My name's Daniel Leach. I'll be your host tonight. I'm going to be joined by Eric the Freedom Screamer from RBN Radio, Republic Broadcasting Network. He's also a co-founder of CourtroomWatch.org, Courtroom Observers as well. We're going to be talking tonight about Anna Taylor. Anna Taylor is a single mom who was put on mental arrest in Connecticut. She is fighting for her rights as a parent in her parental rights, and she basically, she's locked in a psychiatric ward in Middlesex Hospital in Connecticut for exposing court corruption on the witness stand. And tonight, we're also hearing from Anna. She will be calling in to the program this evening, and she will be interviewed. And I'm going to go to a call right now. I believe Eric is calling in at the moment.
Eric is here.
Great, Eric. How's your evening going?
Pretty well. You know, I'm running a little low on sleep, and it's a little stressful because what they're doing to this woman, Anna Taylor, in Connecticut, is absolutely ungodly. And people aren't, I don't think, people, what we're going to share with you tonight is all very real and all very true. And it encompasses everything from the medical experiments done in World War II carried over into our modern court systems. We have documentation, witnesses, victims of these experiments. And the long and short is this woman's been locked up totally unlawfully. She's as normal as anybody else is, and they're using the psychiatric system to claim that somebody is mentally ill. It's exactly what the Soviet Union did to its people who wanted their freedom. They claim mental illness. And because Anna showed up in court and did such a great job exposing corruption when she was on the witness stand, she waited till she was on the witness stand to get everything on record. Brilliant maneuver.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Daniel, are we there?
Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Go ahead, Eric. Sorry, man. Just having a little bit of technical difficulties here.
Well, we're going to have a lot of technical difficulty. Blog Talk Radio just dumped me, and when I tried calling that back in 3 times in a row, they told me I needed to enter an access code, which I did not need to enter in any of our previous broadcasts. So let me tell you, people, what you're about to hear tonight is absolute anathema and is the absolute end of the however you want to describe the ungodly system that we're living under, whether it's tyranny or a dictatorship or a medical tyranny or an all-out totalitarian nightmare. This is what we're going through here. So, and there's all kinds of people whose videos and YouTubes and interviews are getting scrubbed from the internet. That means removed. Anybody that talks about the Second Amendment's getting removed. Anybody that talks about false flag terror is being removed. Anybody that exposes the intelligence agency running drugs is removed. It's a battle right now, and this is very people. I hope you don't have people that you never have to look back on these times and these broadcasts and say, boy, those are the good old days. I missed that opportunity to hear the truth being broadcast over the airwaves. You're losing it right now as we speak. You've already lost it on many accounts. YouTube is totally censored right now, and I mean totally. All the mainstream media is censored, and even the alternative media like InfoWars, Alex Jones, the only thing you're going to get over there is his guests and co-hosts who are nothing more, and all of them will admit it. They're either attorneys or they're members of a 3-letter agency coming out of the very government that betrayed us. So even in the quote-unquote alternative media, you're going to get a lot of bias and you're going to get a lot of censorship. You're going to get none of that here tonight. You're going to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We're not going to give you partial truth. We're not going to run you people around in circles like the Hagmans and Alex Jones telling you, wow, did you hear about the memo that was released last week, and a memo in the server, and Hillary's server, and Comey, and O'Brien, and Batman, and Mueller, and Hillary, and Obama. What they're doing is they're chewing up the clock, running patriots around in circles so they can basically walk us into World War III in the Middle East with an attack on Iran, which is going to be the biggest mistake we've ever made. It's exactly what they want to do, and they're trying to take up time and take up people's mind and all their space. That's why Sean Hannity comes on the air and says, well, it's a big news, bombshell news. Is Obama going to be embarrassed by this memo, by this email? Who cares if he's embarrassed? Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones will never use the word, will Obama or Hillary or Comey or Mueller be indicted? They won't use that word. They won't say Comey or Mueller or Obama or Hillary to be in prison, because then they'd have to put Cheney, Rumsfeld, and Bush in the same prison. Okay, and they don't want to do that. You're seeing people running cover for the Republican Party. That's why you're all the Democrats. The deep state is the left. The deep state's not the left. The deep state controls the left and the right. The deep state is the medical research establishment that's been going on since 1911 at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in its modern form. And we'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to see if we had Anna on the phone. Anna, are you with us?
No, she's not here yet.
Okay, we're going to look forward to having Anna on the air tonight if possible. Worst case scenario, Daniel, I could possibly hang up, give her a ring, and make sure that she knows she's got an appearance on. But the word got through to her where she is at the psychiatric ward. She's allowed to make phone calls. So we got the word to her that she needs to call this number to be on the air tonight, and she's looking forward to it. I just want to make sure they're not I want to make sure they're not interfering with her communication right now.
I believe I could call that. I could call a guest if you give me a number.
I'll give it out over the air. Ask people to wait to call this number themselves and let Daniel do it first. But this is the number that I'm going to give out for people to follow on Anna Taylor's case. If they choose to do so, and I highly recommend that people do so. If they can get her in this type of situation, they can get anyone. This is a brilliant woman. She's very caring. She's battling the courts to try to keep her child because she gave a home birth. She gave birth to her baby at home because she didn't trust the hospital. And then her and the father of the child took the baby to the hospital for a checkup after it was born, and they kept the baby and called the police on the parents and said, "Go. We have reason to believe that this child is mistreated and not cared for properly." There was no abuse. There was no signs of abuse. The part of the medical report that indicated there was no abuse or damage to the child was removed from the medical report when it was submitted to the court. And when Anna got to court, she exposed all this on the witness stand. And the next morning when she got to the courthouse to file papers and finish out her case, her attorney made a false charge that Anna had threatened her, and they called the police and shipped her off to a psychiatric ward, claiming that Anna is a danger to herself or others. And the words they use in the psychological evaluation of Anna, they use the words. Now they're using these words to justify a lifetime permanent psychiatric incarceration. That means in jail for life in a mental hospital. The regular person, like you think about that, people, how scary that could be. And they use the words. Here's the diagnosis. Anna's diagnosis. Anna is pressured, tangential, uncooperative during the interview, and somewhat grandiose. Now, I didn't know that being pressured or tangential or somewhat grandiose are reasons to lock up a human being for life, for the rest of the eternity, and medicate them forcibly by injection. And if they resist the medication, they're going to tie her down and stick the needle in her arm. And once they have her stooped into a vegetable state through the forced medication, then there's no way they'll be able to let her go, because she won't be able to speak, let alone take care of herself. So this is where we're going. And they're doing it to patriots all over the country. They just did it to Chris Cave in Las Vegas. They did it to Jody in Michigan. They tried to I've even had them try to do it to me, claiming that my beliefs as a patriot and as a freedom person were somehow mental illness, but they didn't get very far with that, because I know how to defend myself legally and lawfully as well as physically. And a whole bunch of people were paying attention to my situation because I was not afraid to get on the air and speak about it. And that gave me a measure of protection during my situation where my family was attempting to steal my estate from my dead mother. And it wasn't much, a very little bit of money, out of greed. They were going to try to claim the court that I was mentally unfit and my brother needed to get to everything, control of everything. I'll take care of the money. Put Eric in the mental institution. He's got that goofy freedom idea in his head. That's what and I tried it on me. It didn't work very well for them. It worked out really bad, actually. And so I tried to help other people who are in the same situation, going through the same nightmare of the court system, using the medical system to incarcerate people with beliefs of freedom and independence. It's that simple. And they have a very complex layers of incarceration that they use. It starts out with a false charge. The police use nebulous words like, pressured, tangential. It says she's pressured. So, I mean, if Anna's being pressured and that's part of her diagnosis, then whoever's doing the pressuring better cease and desist it immediately because they're at fault. It's not Anna's fault that she's pressured. I'd blame the pressurer, not the pressuree. Does that make sense, Daniel?
Absolutely, Eric. By the way, what's that number? I can dial it up and see if this dial works.
Yeah, the number, and ask them. You're going to call 860.
I'm gonna see if you want to talk when we're online.
Good.
860.
Hang on a sec. Daniel, I'm going to put you on hold. So plug our sponsors with Pruitt's Tree Resin. I'll be right back.
Sure, I can definitely do that. Okay. Well, this evening's broadcast is being broadcast by and sponsored by Pruitt's Tree Resin. Pruitt's Tree Resin is an all-natural remedy. Matter of fact, I can give you my personal testimony for the use of Pruitt's Tree Resin. David and his family sent me out a couple vials of the resin, and I had this stiff neck that I got injured at work, and I couldn't move my neck from side to side without pain for about 3 months. And matter of fact, when the Pruitt's Tree Resin got here, I was kind of skeptical because it basically looks like tree sap. It smells like tree sap, and I thought, heck, let me try this and see what happens. And lo and behold,
am I still with you, Daniel?
Eric. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to just finish this little story I was saying. And lo and behold, within a day, the pain in my neck has completely gone away. So I give it credit to Pruitt's Tree Resin. You can look up Pruitt's Tree Resin. And we have a sponsorship with all in order. Use the phrase 1776 and you'll be supporting freedom and liberty movement with our radio program right here. That's Pruitt's Tree Resin.
Excellent. I'm glad you tried it. You had good luck with it, did you, Daniel, the Pruitt's Tree Resin?
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I tried it about 2 weeks ago, and I had this stiff neck because I hurt my neck at work. Hey, I believe I got a caller, 702 caller.
That will be Chris. Yes, that's Chris from Las Vegas, and we'd like to welcome Chris.
All right, hold on a second.
Thank you very
caller.
much.
Is this Chris?
It is just Chris near Las Vegas.
Great, Chris. Thanks for joining the program here at Studio 1776. Welcome.
Fantastic. So we want to wrap up our plug here for Pruitt's Tree Resin. We were going to try to squeeze Dave Pruitt on tonight if we have enough room. So he may join us, but we want to get Anna on first. And so what we're going to do is ask everybody to support Pruitt's Tree Resin. That's PRUITTS, Pruitt'sTreeResin.com. They have a video on YouTube. The products are awesome. I've used them on myself and my pets, and they work great. And they have tree resin and a coconut oil mix. They have the thicker stuff and then the thinner stuff. And they have a pure resin, which is really sticky but works unbelievable. And they also have leather care. They have the lower grade of tree resin that they don't sell for human use. They use it on leather, and it's the world's greatest leather care. So if you have shoes, hats, gloves, jackets, get some Pruitt's leather care. And once again, enter the coupon code 1776. And that will the way Dave Pruitt will know that you came from us. He'll know that his support of this broadcast is well earned, is well deserved. And I think he gives 10% discount to anybody who enters that code 1776. I'm pretty sure about that. I asked him about that. He said, "Yep." So I'd like people to really help Pruitt's Tree Resin and spread the word. It's a patriot family. It's a good family. It's been in 4 generations passed down to young David Pruitt right now, who's a fantastic guy, and one of the world's foremost experts on firearms and preparation and off-the-grid living. So if you want to call and speak to Dave, it's PruittsTreeResin.com, and they have their phone number up there. I'll try to give it out before the end of the show. With that, I'd like to segue over to Chris. I'm going to turn the broadcast over to Daniel and Chris for about 5 minutes while I try to get Anna to call in, and so we can hear from the woman herself. But we're discussing the case of Anna Taylor tonight, who's been after a magnificent Perry Mason courtroom presentation on the witness stand, exposing all the corruption of the court and presenting documents to the court with notaries to support her claims. The next morning, she was off to the psychiatric ward, and she may never be seen again if people listening to this broadcast fail to get involved. Chris, tell them briefly and slowly, run through your situation. Give them the highlights because they might get bogged down in the details. Offer what you feel is necessary and any overall general descriptions you have of what's going on, including the Soviet manual on how they were going to get people to obey and get people to comply and take over societies exactly the way they're doing it now with Anna. Because what we are witnessing right now, especially in Connecticut, where she is, Middletown, Connecticut, and it's Middlesex Hospital. And I'm going to call there right now and see if we can get her on the line. So Chris and Daniel, cover for me for about 5-10 minutes, and hopefully Anna and I will be both back together here on the air with you, her calling from Connecticut, and Eric the Freedom Screamer in upstate New York. So was that okay with you guys? And I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Daniel Leach and Chris Cave.
Well, thank you so very much. This is just Chris near Las Vegas. Go ahead, Daniel, if you want to do your intro.
Well, just wanted to say thanks for calling in tonight. And Eric told me a little bit about your situation that you were going through. And I'm glad to have you on the program to be able to share your story and your experience. So let's hear it. What exactly do you have to say to our audience this evening about what you're dealing with?
Well, unfortunately, I found after the fact, after quite a bit of due diligent investigation, I'm very studied in law myself, a former multi-jurisdictional law enforcement professional, including the 546 Military Police, attached to CID, Criminal Investigation Division at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, 1973 to 76. Following that, I was at the Lawton, Oklahoma PD, which was the entity just outside the Fort Sill base, also near Lawton, Oklahoma. I worked there on the streets for quite a couple of years, and then I moved out to the Las Vegas area and tested a couple other places, including Phoenix, Arizona PD. And I was accepted to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department about 1976, probably 86 to 87. I don't remember the exact years, but it's been quite a while. This is a long time since then, and I'm not as young as I once was. But then I also worked for the Nevada State Gaming Control Board's Enforcement Division. And so I've had actual training and instruction in law enforcement tactics and requirements at several different jurisdictions, along with lots of self-study since I was attacked by zoning officials in the county down in Yavapai County, Arizona, and prevailed against them finally in the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals on international law of treaties, private grants of land made patent, and constitutional diversity of citizenship. I've been studying law ever since then. I learned that we have to know how to defend ourselves with the law. There's a case called Adderley, Adderly, versus the state of Florida, which talks about a responsibility to not only know the law, but to be able to employ it to defend ourselves and to remove ourselves from what they describe as unbenighted ignorance. And what we find is when we start studying law ourselves, we kind of remove ourselves from that blue pill area of the matrix and step into the red rabbit hole to see how far and how deep it goes. And it goes much farther and deeper than most of us would even contemplate. And for that, I guess I apparently was rewarded with being a targeted individual by the powers that be, because I have been an outspoken advocate and activist against the cult of the bar, taking complete death grip control of the whole criminals' just us system and converting it to their own predatory interest. And it appears that almost every agency of government has now been weaponized against the American people, and they are specifically targeting individuals who are a threat to their existence by exposing their criminality, deviosity, that of being a deviant, perverse individual, like the Marina Abramovitz, Podestas, Hillary Clinton, and the other James L. Fontes, Jeffrey Epstein, and his Pedogate Island, or Paradise Island as they sometimes called it, of these sycophants in government who think themselves elite and entitled to prey upon the rest of us. And for that, much like Anna Taylor, I was forced into a mental competency evaluation, not because of what I did, but because of what I know, apparently. And I had the audacity in that court, a pro tempore retired judge, Nancy Becker, who was summoned. Very curiously, I discovered there was a very devious assimilation of separated powers with the district attorney of the county here, Clark County, Stephen Wolfson, being married to Jackie Wolfson Glass, who was also serving as the Specialty Competency Court Mental Health Court, which is an inquisitorial or star chamber type court system where the judge acts with all powers, and that's what Thomas Jefferson described as a despot or a dictator. When they decide on what evidence can be heard, what law applies or does not apply, they have the right to determine whether you can be free or be committed to their so-called assessment. Although at the time of being assessed, I had never been convicted of a crime in 65 at that time years, and still have not been, fortuitously, all in spite of the best efforts of the county's prosecution and Mr. Wilson and his wife and some of their other associates. But in that particular day that I showed up in court, I had not been able to show a preview one because I was filing a suit for a Title 42 1983 Bivens action in the federal court across town, a few blocks away, and they had the high winds had taken down their internet and communication streams over in the California area, and they couldn't get a number for my case. I had to call in because I was being delayed for all the issues surrounding their IT problems that bestalled them and kept them from getting me out there timely. Well, the next time I followed up in so-called pro tempore Nancy Becker's court, who were close friends with the Wolfsons, because I had the audacity of citing with a great degree of specificity a couple of cases that decry the whole facade of the so-called psychiatric and psychologic and mental, that sick mind is what mental means, health so-called care facilities, much like the Celebration of Care at Bohemian Grove. I was violently attacked by a gang of 6 thugs masquerading as public servants, marshals, in her court, and taken hostage, political hostage terrorism, to Lakes Crossing Center in Sparks, Nevada, where I was kept under a high security mental health prison, as you will, where I was under 24-hour surveillance, 24/7, 365 for 30 days. Fortuitously, thanks to Eric and others that were doing quite a bit of lobbying efforts on my behalf and calling the facility, I was also able to carry out live broadcasts pointing out the very dramatic dangers from the psychotropic drugs that they pump people full of and their version of care for them that gave them a very zombified type of death walk almost, where they would walk around in circles many times, and some of them would line up in big lines to get their so-called meds, which were psychotropic drugs that are neuroactive, that act on the brain and apparently disaffect other parts of the body and make them very docile, easy to manage, herd management, hive management, game theory, if you will. These are very diabolical schemes, and I became even more activist and more advocate and studied even more and learned about some papers from some pretty notable individuals who know these things very, very well. and I came upon the concept of what's called psychopolitical warfare by Kenneth Goff, Goff. And this was a blueprint of communist activism, a plot to take over America through using the pseudosciences, witch doctrines, as they call it in the Supreme Court case that I cited in that court that day. I'll give those to you a little later. And mental healing to per se execute, to prosecute, torture, to mitigate, and to suppress the truth from people like Anna Taylor and myself and others who have been preyed upon by the criminal justice system and their so-called psychopolitical warriors, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, and the mental health care so-called professionals. Others that have fallen prey to this deviosity are Edgar Steele, who was a prominent attorney up in the Oregon area, and Idaho area, who was a very vexatious litigator and being very effective against the federal government and the IRS and beating back their attacks on people. And because they couldn't beat him in court, they decided to frame the blame on him, and they concocted this phony story that he was involved with a Russian hooker, a madam, if you will, who was supposedly, he and Mr. Steele and the Russian hooker were plotting to murder his wife. Unfortunately for the powers that be, the wife and Edgar, they had a wonderful, loving relationship. I think they were part of the Mormon faith up there. There are a lot of other aspects to that we could go into, but we won't on this show. But nevertheless, they had a very loving relationship, and they knew it was a bunch of hooey. But the FBI has used this practice in quite a number of occasions to silence voices of truth from exposing deviosity and criminality in the government and private sectors that are covered up by the government, and exposed many of the things that were going on. For this,
absolutely.
He was locked up.
Chris, let me just ask you to pause right there and see if we have Anna yet. Anna? Do we have Anna? Daniel, is there a chance we're maxed out with 3 people and she can't get in? I just gave her the number and spoke with her.
No, it's there should be up to 5 people able. She hasn't called in yet, so.
She hasn't called in. You don't have anything coming from an 860 number, no?
No.
Okay. So I don't think I'm going to hang up again and call her back because I know she read the number back to me. She's a really smart woman. She's either having technical difficulty getting in because I know I did. I had started this interview and then got dropped right in the middle of it, and that's when I came back in and Daniel put everything back together. But that was not on your end, Daniel. That was unexplained technical difficulty, if I'm not mistaken. And in case Anna's suffering from that, let's just give her a few more minutes and see if they're interfering with her communication from the hospital. We'll give her a little more time. Then maybe I'll repeat the process. And it was interesting to hear Chris's cases. People, our guest here, Chris Cave in Las Vegas, what started out as a code violation for having a car in the driveway up on blocks as he was restoring a historic car. That minor code violation turned into an armed assault on Chris, and which led to his subsequent incarceration, especially which accelerated after he filed really powerful, well-written common law court documents. As you can tell, our guest Chris here was just speaking. He's a pretty sharp guy. He knows the legal, he knows the lawful, he knows the courts, he's had. Chris, did you describe what you've done? You've been a cop before. I mean, you know what the system is, so you know how to. I mean, you've been in it, and you've seen the corruption. And so, Chris has been a police officer. He's been I believe, a customs officer, and several things. So Chris is not just a total, renegade that's fighting the system all his life, like James Dean from day one, rebel without a cause or nothing. No, Chris was kind of one of them, and now he saw what's going on, and he knows how to handle himself. And when people leave the system, they once were a police, or they once were in a 3-letter agency, or they used to be in a high-level position, and then they leave and start going good. In other words, they don't go bad, they go good. They come out and start exposing the corruption like Anna Taylor did on the witness stand on Wednesday. this past week, the system just will lock you up with any means at their disposal. And the preferred means right now is the medical psychiatric system. And we're going to get into some history of this. I'm hoping Anna's going to join us, but let me go through, since Anna's not with us and it is her broadcast, I want to go through the detail, the kind of an overall kind of a thumbnail sketch of what Anna's been through since her younger days and how it led to the situation she's in, because people are looking for a little background, a little history. Is this woman really crazy? Is she not? Does she, why is the court trying to steal her child if she does not abuse the child? And there are pictures up on by the way, there's pictures up on the internet of Anna with the father, Robert, who's recently been killed, and the baby, and it's the most beautiful little blonde-haired, blue-eyed, 2-year-old baby you've ever seen. Absolute picture of health, bright eyes, perfect skin, perfectly cared for, like almost a perfect caricature of what a child would be in its perfect form. And they're kissing it, playing with it. They have no record of any abuse. And the courts now, to answer the question I was just put forth, why would the courts try to take somebody's child if they weren't abusing it? It's called adoption incentives. And it was put through during the Clinton administration. And that gives the courts a whole bunch of money from the state if they can facilitate more adoptions. The more adoptions, the better. I interviewed a woman once who left the Virginia State Department of Children's Services, and she said she could hear in the room next door to her office the people who work for the Virginia State Department of Children and Family Services cheering and screaming and yelling and having a party because the Clinton administration and Congress had just passed an adoption incentives initiative program where very large amounts of money are given to the courts and the adoption agencies and the child protective services and the police and their budget as well to get their hands on as many children.
I think we just got her to come on the show here. Hold on. It's at 860, right?
Hey.
I don't know. Anna?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Welcome to
Anna
the program.
Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to present to you Anna Taylor. Anna, I'm going to give them the overall sketch like I did to you the other day to make sure I had everything right. And that way they can get the overall view and then you can fill in the details. And so Anna was basically taken from a drug-addicted mother. She was put in foster care. She wound up in Florida in the famous children where the kids were in the cages at the foster home. She was awarded a great deal of money through a settlement for all the children involved. She never got her money. She ended up getting together with a very powerful man and having 2 children. He used his power and wealth during divorce proceedings to take the babies and claim Anna was mentally ill. From there, it spiraled down into psychological evaluations, court proceedings, and on the birth of her 3rd child, since Anna decided to do the birth at home, the 2 doctors at the hospital where they took the baby for a checkup after giving it birth at home, the 2 doctors opened the case in the witches' court directly themselves. CPS didn't even want it. The police were not involved. 2 private individuals. This is what's so scary about this whole thing. 2 private doctors. This is the recent beginning of the recent stuff for Anna. 2 private doctors at a hospital did not like the fact that Anna Taylor wanted to have her baby born at home. The hospital can't stand that. You know what happens if everybody did that? There'd be no more hospital, and they'd be out of a whole buttload of money. So they opened the case directly in court, claiming Anna was abusive and the child was this and that. Conveniently, those pages of the report wound up missing when it got to the court. Attorney Lisa Vincent, I talked to the attorney for over 2 hours once. Her name's Lisa Vincent. I believe there's a conscience in there somewhere, but ultimately Lisa Vincent, in her battle with her conscience, the conscience lost. And her obedience to the bar and the system and whatever threats she was getting came through, and she sold Anna out. And Anna still appeared in court, even though her doctor, Dr. Mantell, the psychiatrist who had interviewed Anna for hundreds of hours, and we'll get to him in a minute, even though Dr. Mantell failed to show up in court, Anna was there. He was supposed to be there to make a case against Anna, if there was one, which there's not. He failed to show up. She's not supposed to be there, and she is showing up. To her credit, dressed to the T, good-looking, dressed to kill, well-spoken, really smart. You're going to hear in a second. And she exposed the entire corruption on the witness stand under oath, on record. and she did so much damage to the corruption, to the corrupt court and the corrupt system and the corrupt lawyers, that her attorney basically told her, "I'm going to effing kill you." This is the attorney talking to Anna, and the attorney goes and swears out a complaint with the state police saying that Anna threatened the attorney. Anna doesn't have to threaten the attorney. She had brilliant documents and paperwork she was submitting. She was great on the witness stand, did a Perry Mason job of pulling off a great victory, did the thing that we all want to see everybody. We all want to do that. We all want to see everybody do that. Stand up to the system in a lawful manner with no violence and speak for yourself and expose the corruption and present documents notarized to the court to support your claim or your statement. And she did. And the Thursday when she showed up in court to finish the proceedings, the state police took her straight to the emergency room at Middlesex Hospital in Middletown, Connecticut. And from there she was transferred up to the 7th floor psychiatric ward where she sits right now against her will. And ladies and gentlemen, Miss Anna Taylor. Anna, talk to the people and just let them know that you're not crazy.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I've got about 10 minutes to talk. I don't know what we need to talk about, but yeah, it's been so much. We've got a doctor that we could talk about here that I believe is behind the curtain. He's a U.S. military Army doctor, Mantell.
David Mantell.
Yeah, a man by the name of Kevin Hall, the Commissioner of Human Rights of New England, could ascribe of the various human rights crimes perpetrated by this doctor. If you want to go further, we could talk about that. But what I'm standing at looking at is some very scary days ahead of me. I think they declared war on me, and I believe what I understand is I'm going to be forced to be drugged, and I believe this is a medical kidnapping and a non-consensual human experimentation. They call it a DOD. I'm not quite sure. It's a DOD 5240-1R directive. I feel like I'm ambushed, and I really don't know what to do. I can only speak for myself right now, and I'm glad that I am on this talk show. Thank you very much, Eric.
Well, no problem, anytime. I found it fascinating. What was the name of the recent psychoanalyst that claimed that you were pressured, tangential, and grandiose? Who was that? Was that Mrs. Sanchez Torres? What was her name?
Yeah, that was Christine Sanchez Torres.
Christine Sanchez Torres, and you basically presented yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
The U.S. Army doctor, though, Dr. Mantell. I don't know if you've explored it, but he had done obedience and.
I'm going to spend the rest of the show discussing him, and that's why I didn't want to chew up too much time with his story right now because the people aren't going to believe. I just want you to give your direct experience with him. He's interviewed you for hundreds of hours. Is that correct?
Right. He spent hundreds of hours on the willingness to torture and obedience.
Now, in your contact with him, describe it.
Well, I can't quite describe it, but one time he told me to pretend that I was carrying a bag of rocks from Guantanamo Bay, and he asked me to take TSI tests about 6 times, which is a trauma stress index test. And it's just awful. But the reality of the situation is that the doctor himself has lost his license, and he continues to be put into place where people aren't aware. He has talked about in the Freedom magazine up in Germany when he was about 30 years old, talked about the Max Planck Institute.
I got it right here.
And how Kooks would
I got it.
Would smear Nazi victims' brains and blood on cold scopes, and it looks like the UK Guardian just came out this year saying the very same thing as what they were doing is exactly that. Yep. So a lot of the licenses from Nuremberg were bought over there by Mendelssohn and stuff like that. But yeah, this is an old war criminal that that the Department of Children and Families uses over here in Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Right, and I want to reiterate that for people. This guy named David Mantell is a member of the Max Planck Society, which is the new name for the Kaiser Wilhelm Society, which was established in 1911 under the German Empire. And all the doctors in Germany that entered the Third Reich in the Nazi experimentation camps came out of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute. During World War II, you know what they did as far as Nazi experiments on people. We're going to do another broadcast on it. It's disgusting. Killing little children slowly to see how they reacted under trauma, etc. And that's as far as I can go on this broadcast with that. But I'll get into that another time. But they were not shut down after World War II. They changed their name to the Max Planck Society, from the Kaiser Wilhelm Society, established in 1911, to the Max Planck Society, which has 81 institutes under it. One of them is called the Max Planck Institute for Psychiatry, and it's funded by Kuhn Loeb Bank and the Rockefeller Foundation. So, and I'm going to open this all up after Anna leaves us, because I don't want to take away from her time if she's only got 10 minutes, and I got a way of getting into a lot of stuff. So I wanted to get across, Anna, can you just tell, you you must be in agony about, the baby as well. We have the pictures up on the internet of you playing with her. I thought it was absurd the time that you went to one of your visitations with the tea set, and we're going to have a playtime tea time with no tea and nothing, it was not going to be any tea involved with a 3 or 2-year-old. They're not going to drink tea, but you were going to pretend you were going to have tea time. I thought that was precious, beautiful, and then they told you what an irresponsible move. There could be hot water in that tea that could burn the baby. I mean, I thought that was absurd. It was just one of the many things that they're doing to you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, anything else you want to say to the, well, I want you to take up the rest of the 10 minutes, Anna.
Well, they manufactured and fabricated evidence that I would poison my daughter and my paramour at the time, who is now actually has an untimely death. He was researched and studied in the correctional institution, and he's now dead, as well as my mother, as well as a good friend of mine I call Erin Brockovich. Her house blew up in the timely manner that my attorney said that it would occur if she was not silenced about Mr. Max Planck. But I simply took a stand on the March 21st, and I was my own star witness, and I had filed some paperwork, which I don't know if you guys have, but I could read it with you.
I would like you to read that if you had it in your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm asking Honorable Judge Quinn to allow the record to reflect that I, Anna Taylor, have required that Attorney Lisa Vincent file a complaint with the Judicial Council under Title 18 for various crimes associated with the fiduciary to myself, inclusive of the treason for attempting to prevent Lisa Vincent from fulfilling her legal agent fiduciary to the U.S. to prevent fraud. I, Anna Taylor, require Lisa Vincent to write a complaint officially to the FBI as well as Judicial Council. Lisa Vincent must exercise the attorney administration process per on such lawful threats. I, Anna Taylor, require in today's proceeding to put all names under Title 18 U.S.C., then put all documents to the Department of Justice, Federal Center, Congressman, per official legal notice. I, Anna Taylor, require that such frauds of the Judicial Court not prevent the exposing of such frauds predicated. I, Anna Taylor, hereby firmly state that the attorney Lisa Vincent take on the corruptions of the bar union, or then Lisa Vincent is willingly cooperative in their crimes. That is affirmed as a fact of law. I, Anna Taylor, require that the restoration of the Republic be restored. I, Anna Taylor, know the facts of the corporation structure. Good attorneys need to cure their pillar. I stand today to defend the pillar, public commerce, pillar laws, and its all constructive bond fraud and the world banks that run on fraud. I, Anna Taylor, ask that the Judicial Court record here reflect that my child's rights, Jolie Rose Pamela, have been unlawfully abrogated and sold as I profess. I, Anna Taylor, require Honorable Judge Quinn that the judicial proceeding here today reflect that an expired notary commissioner stamp 2012 of Suzanne Brockwell be offered as evidence of bad faith. A termination of parental rights trial petition is null and void and now unlawful. I, Anna Taylor, offer evidence by counsel of Citizens Commission of Human Rights New England, Kevin Hall, to ascribe of the various human rights crimes perpetrated by coup d'etat U.S. military Army Dr. Mantell to be duly noted. I, Anna Taylor, ask that Honorable Judge Quinn review the evidence now set for us. And, of course, there's evidence that was never really set forth because I was taken into, I was detained in a psychiatric facility.
They took all your paperwork and took you off to the psych hospital. Unbelievable. You want to continue with that document?
Yep. So I had I had been walking out of the courthouse after everything had been stamped, and they tried to pull me in. I would call the military police and such. And I had my medical proxy healthcare agent right next to me, my great uncle. But they insisted that I would sit down and be investigated, but they really detained me in a room with 5 guards on me, and they fabricated more evidence that, well, let me see if I can find that document that I managed to procure.
I got it here. Even the trooper stated at the time of your incarceration that you were well groomed. I have it right here. She's alert and she knows her name. She's well groomed. Her attitude was uncooperative and guarded and suspicious. Well, Anna's attitude should be uncooperative and guarded and suspicious. She's being real. Her baby's been taken from her multiple times, and she's in the witch's court. She better be suspicious or she's not normal. And then her speech was normal, and so her speech was normal. She was alert and knows her name. She's well-groomed, but she's suspicious, and that's enough for this. Now, I'm interested that you use the term military police because the man who put his name on the report enlisted himself as PFC Hesseltine, Hesseltine, emphasize the SS, Hesseltine, and he was PFC Hesseltine. And I believe, Chris, does that not stand for private first class? You've been in the police departments in the military. What does PFC mean?
Yeah.
Chris Cave? Is Chris still with us, or Chris get dumped?
Yeah,
all right.
Still here. I heard noise in the background. I hope Diana was okay.
Yeah, I heard that noise. Well, we want to keep her on the line as long as possible to hear what's going on there. I heard some yelling. I didn't like it. But, Anna, you hang in there. Chris. The arresting officer, PFC Hesseltine, listed himself as PFC. Does that not stand for private first class?
That indeed is what the common understanding is.
Is that not a military term?
It is.
So he is a military policeman, not a public officer.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the guards were whispering ground control and such like that. I guess it's a military operation, and I'm seized into custody, and I'm gravely concerned. I'm sorry to interject, but this all started 7 years ago. They took 3 babies by birth, but this all started, just to interject again, and it was another opinions doctor. Which I had never paid for. It was another opinions doctor, just to go backwards a little bit, that because I disagreed with the agency to begin with, that I should be titrated against my will with intramuscular injections of atypical antipsychotics, and I had no prior tags to me or such. But to disagree with the agency and its charges, I was only seeking to address due process rights and afford a trial.
Sure. Due process.
From the first baby from birth, but yeah, this is the additional information to substantiate the committal, though. I think you've got there too, don't you?
Absolutely. What were they whispering? Ground control or ground patrol? What were they saying?
Yeah, they kept whispering ground control.
Ground control to Major Tom.
If you weren't already crazy, you'd be crazy just listening to this stuff. But they seized all my property and they threw it all over the floor when I had entered the courthouse. My umbrella got stuck in the the conveyor belt. I knew what was going on, and I had to get out of there fast. But they were saying that she thinks she's part of an experiment conducted by a New World Order, and she left a message on one of her attorney's voicemail about how the attorney's involvement on the experiment conducted by the New World Order will result in her untimely death. So another situation here is, it was told that I would be entered into a research study because the retainer fee wasn't enough by Lisa Vincent. And and then later it was, Peter Rob Paul was a result of the circumstances. And, so one thing led to another. But apparently my untimely death is imminent, and I'm sure of it now.
Who said your untimely death is imminent?
Oh, Miss Vincent.
Okay, just to reiterate for our listeners, Lisa Vincent, we're talking with Anna Taylor, and Lisa Vincent is the attorney that Anna hired to defend her, to fight for her baby and try to get her child back, even though there was no abuse on the child. They couldn't prove anything was wrong with the child. And why did
she was born healthy? It was a fraudulent probate to begin with.
The child,
it was a fraudulent probate administrative order. Yeah.
I I've seen the pictures of you and Robert and the baby. It's the perfect. I mean, it's obvious you love the child, and the baby is in perfect mint condition. I mean, but there's big bucks in the line for blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies, and there's huge adoption incentives and enormous amounts of money being paid both through the system and under the table for people to find blonde-haired, blue-eyed babies that they can adopt. And that's
they were calling her a prodigy. They were calling her a prodigy. And they were studying, and Mantell said he was studying me. Has it in the evaluation, which is, probably lost by now, if you know what I mean.
Right.
That he was looking for superpowers.
You told me that, and I almost didn't believe it, but I know you to be an honest person.
I know. I almost didn't believe it when I seen it.
It almost sounds out of it. Right. Even some things are shocking even to me, and I watch this corruption for a living. But I know you're an honest person, and you've been straight shooter. Now, people listening to this broadcast, does the woman who just read, Anna, did you write that document that you just read to us, Anna Taylor, and then stated your claims?
Right. A renegade, a Turner, but not really an attorney, helped me write it. But it would expose the corruption within the bar, so I think I might have upset a few people.
I'm sure you did. It was very well written and very well read back, so you could tell it was in more or less your own words with the help of somebody like me who probably helped you structure it. Just like I put stuff mostly, I would say, I want you to, in your words, but I can help you with the structure to make sure it's laid out right. And you made some serious enemies with that document. You said the global banking system is controlled. You made some statements in there that are absolutely true, that are absolutely devastating to a corrupt court, corrupt lawyers.
Yeah, nuclear power.
Right, exactly. And you did it on the witness stand, so it would be on public record. That was brilliant and very ballsy and very gutsy of you, and you paid the price. So this is why I want everybody to get active on this. Don't just listen to this and go to bed tonight eating popcorn and eating ice cream and watching TV, and Anna's going to be sleeping. The woman you're speaking to with right now on this broadcast is going to be locked in a psychiatric hospital, not knowing what next month or next day or next year is going to bring. Meanwhile, Judge Joseph Marino is planning on some kind of competency hearing at the mental hospital where Anna is. They're not even going to allow her a day in open court. They're so scared of what Anna's doing legally and lawfully that they don't want to give her a voice. So they're trying to stifle her voice. They're trying to, because they don't like the message, they're trying to kill the messenger. And that's what they've done to Stephen Dean. That's what they're doing to all the Patriots, the Bundys in Las Vegas. Chris, who's on the phone with us right now in Las Vegas, is just have Jody Davies, who I put Anna in touch with because they're a similar situation. And we cannot let this happen to Anna Taylor. Anna doesn't really have to say another word. I know she's not nuts. She's very well spoken. She's very smart. She takes care of herself. She takes care of people around her, especially her child. And the court is trying to steal the child because Anna has some soft spots that they can exploit and very little backup. She doesn't have a big organization or a network behind. She does now, but she didn't before have anybody to stand with her. We had trouble getting one or two people in court to go with her just to observe, and sometimes even they couldn't show up. So it's Anna against the world. And when her attorney Lisa Vincent, who lost the battle with her conscience, decided to sell Anna down the river for whatever, out of fear or out of profit, how's Anna going to battle the state? I don't want to use the word state police. These guys are military unit. Anna describes them as a military police. The guy's putting himself, Hesseltine is putting his paperwork, advertising himself as PFC Hesseltine. That's private first class Hesseltine. That's an army man. What the hell are they doing at the courthouse, kidnapping Anna Taylor and taking her to a psych ward for exercising her common law rights and exposing judicial corruption on the witness stand, on the record? It was brilliant. I love it. You got more balls than most of us do. Anna, and you're a real fighter, and I'm going to spend the rest of the I want you to stay with us as long as you can, and then when you have to leave, I'm going to take over, and we're going to open up the David Mantell, the doctor, the psychiatrist for the state of Connecticut for the children. Anna told me the other night, and I wrote it down with quotes because it was after finding out who this David Mantell really is. Anna said he's now the favorite doctor for the Connecticut State Department of Children and Family Services. And wait till you hear what Dr. Mantell's, what he's done, what he did. I'm going to get into all that later. I don't want to chew up Anna's time, with Dr. Mantell. But Dr. Mantell.
Well, I'll call him, the hired gun assassin.
Let's do this. Let's
the words I have to measure.
I want to spend a couple of broadcasts. If we got to come on tomorrow, if Daniel's willing, or next week again, and I want to stay on this for a while. This case has everything in it, people. Everything. I mean, you could make a movie out of this, and you wouldn't believe it was a movie. You'd think it was beyond fiction. But it's all real. And this is why I don't understand why people need to have a TV or YouTube or other than to do research and help people out in situations like this. I don't know why people would want to be entertained by the idiot box or movies and stuff like that. It's all a fantasy. None of it's real. You have way more exciting, interesting, and fascinating and disgusting things happening in real life. I wish it were all fun and games, but it's not. Anna is suffering, and I want everybody to realize that. What you just heard, you sounded like a woman you would chat with on the phone, over, about what you're going to do, on the weekend with the children or something like that. Anna's perfectly normal. Do I need to say it again? She just read her case. I, Anna Taylor, don't consent to the jurisdiction of this court. I claim my child as my own. She's exposing the corruption, and she's doing it on record. And I applaud Anna. You've got so much guts. You got more guts than I do, probably. You're probably smarter than I am. You're very well spoken. How you can keep it together in the face of the nightmare that they're putting you into right now is beyond me. Kudos to you. I mean, you're maintaining. I wasn't sure how you'd hold up tonight, but I knew that you'd be cool. And it's because look, I'd be scared shitless if excuse my language. I'd be scared to death if I was in your shoes, and I'd be contemplating. I don't know what I'd do. You're gonna have to comply for now, and let us on the outside work on getting you out. I mean, how do you do? They're not gonna. I mean, how do you get to a law library? How do you get to a counsel? How do you get to get care items? I mean, you told me the other night you were having trouble getting dinner. I hope they're feeding you on time now, because I didn't like when you told me the other night, you had trouble getting dinner, but a couple of nurses helped you out, and it just sounded really sketchy. And if they're not taking care of you, I want you to say so right now on the air. You could just say yes or no.
Right. We are learning to take turns on this device, and I've been able to utilize this telephone to connect, but it's a 10-minute process, so I can get back on in 10 minutes, or I cannot. It's up to you guys. But I've spoken to Jody, and Jody's insisting that this is telling them that this is declaring an act of war on me, and that this is beyond consent.
Well, I know. I told Jody to go.
And medical kidnapping.
It is a medical. Yeah, absolutely. It's a medical and a militarized police kidnapping. Absolutely, it is. And
she's saying it's non-consensual human experimentation. It's terrible. She's got all the words.
I thought you might be.
BOD.
Well, I thought you might have been stretching a few things when I first started talking with you, and after I did my research and really got to know you, I know better now. You're really You're really suffering because you're a truth teller and you're a truth seeker, and the system cannot stand. And you're a corruption exposer, and the system cannot stand that. Now, I asked Jody to go easy.
If you want to write a legal Pulp Fiction, we'll do that. Truth is stranger than fiction. But it's been difficult to raise the flags, as you can see.
I want Jody and you both to go easy on the words of declaration of war and stuff like that. We don't want to stir up the pot too much to get where you lose your privileges on the phone and stuff. Now, if you got to go in 10-minute intervals on the phone, that's okay. Yeah, if you got to take 10 minutes on and 10 minutes off, call us back in 10 minutes. I want you to keep calling I want you to keep calling every 10 minutes until the show expires in an hour from now. So over the next hour, just keep calling us every 10 minutes, and 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off. Is that cool? Can we do that?
That's awesome. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yep. See you in a bit.
Bye, guys.
Okay, awesome. Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Say, Eric.
Yes, Chris. Go ahead. Wasn't that something?
This is very, very important, because this could happen to anyone in America these days.
Yep.
It's absolutely a very clear and present danger that could befall anyone who does not consent, does not comply, who is a belligerent claimant, someone who knows their rights and tries to assert them, because this is the communization of America, the Zionification of America. This is domestic terrorism. This is human trafficking, because there's money involved. Follow the money. That's always a truism that we must follow. And because the DCFS, it gets money from the Department of Health and Human Services from the Title IV funds, They're disseminated to states through their child protective services and their justice programs. They have a bounty. If I remember right, it's $25,000 for a normal child. Double that if you can be declared special needs. And as you observed before, blonde, blue-eyed children, much like John Benet Ramsey, beautiful children, indigo children that have special powers of spiritual nature, of communication with the universal intelligence, the higher God power, are highly sought after by these Satanists, these Luciferian cult worshippers, who find them to be a valuable commodity, and they like to destroy anything that's near perfect, as this child obviously is. And this is why they're a danger and subject to being preyed upon by these sycophants, these pedophiles, and child sex traffickers.
Very well said, Chris in Las Vegas. Exactly. It's just okay. So now So you've heard from Anna Taylor. We know she's not nuts. Okay, the woman's obviously not crazy. She's not violent. And the two, she mentioned the two bits of it, and she did it. What a perfect presentation she just did. What a strong woman. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think we may have somebody else on the line from an 860 number, and I just want to give them an opportunity if they're there. 860, are you there?
Who do we got?
I'm here.
Tammy Stroud.
Okay.
We got Tammy. Yeah, Tammy Stroud is one of our earlier victories with the court observers, and we got Tammy off of 5 criminal charges. Tammy was getting jerked around by the local police or the state police, and it snowballed into a whole bunch of charges that were not fair or lawful, and Tammy walked out. Tammy was a success story, and Tammy is the one who brought Anna Taylor's case to me. So I want to thank Tammy for bringing Anna Taylor to the forefront. It's been about 6 months to a year since you told me about Anna, and it's been off and on, and now it's gone bad where they've locked her up in a psychiatric hospital. So Tammy Stroud in Connecticut, welcome, and thanks for being Anna's friend, and thanks for being there and putting in the late hours, doing the research and getting the phone numbers together and figuring out who can help in that area of Connecticut or New York City that's willing to maybe go down and visit Anna or do a little, participate in a small protest out front of the courthouse or something like that to bring light to her case, or things from their own living room, like go online and make a blog about Anna, make a website, the Justice for Anna Taylor. Let's get it going. I can't do everything. I've been all day just trying to juggle this whole thing. And so, people, we need help. Anybody listening to this broadcast, I'd like you to put some heat on the CEO and president of Middlesex Hospital in Connecticut. His name is, and the caller, Tammy, will be with you in just a second, so hang tight, sweetheart. We got the hospital man that we want to call. His name is Vincent Capice, Capece. Capice, it's all E's. Capece. And Vincent Capice is the CEO and president of Middlesex Hospital. And you have to call. I'm having trouble getting a direct number to him. If somebody wants to go on whitepages.com or LinkedIn or Facebook, they might be able to get his number for us. That would be a big help. There's an open posting for this for anybody who wants to chip in. Can go to Freedom Scream Radio. That's the word freedom, FREEDOM, and then scream, Freedom Scream, as in Eric the Freedom Screamer, Freedom Scream Radio .chattango, CHATANGO.com. That's Freedom Scream Radio .chattango.com. And you can post up there if you have any comments or you want to follow this discussion. That's a great place to go. I want to thank Sovereign Man for putting that together, that website, while I was broadcasting, and I still do broadcast occasionally on the Republic Broadcasting Network, 10 o'clock Eastern, Monday to Friday, on Resurrect the Republic with Tom Lacavara. Tom was nice enough to let me take over the broadcast last night, and a couple nights this week he gave me the thumbs up to take over from 10 to 12 Eastern on the Republic Broadcasting Network to further the plight of Anna Taylor, her case, and keep her on people's minds. The only thing that's going to save Anna Taylor right now is, other than God, and that's going to be ultimately where we have to give the credit. So pray, but we have to, it's you, the listener, whoever listening to my voice and Anna tonight, it's up to you. It's not up to the magic man on the white horse, Eric the Freedom Screamer. Is not going to come raging down like Braveheart with the troops and kill them all. I wish, it would be that easy. It's not. We got to be, we need the public to support Anna Taylor. So the number for the front desk of the hospital that Anna is staying at, and now listen, people, I'm trusting that everybody, we call this a phone blitz, but we do it nicely. We're firm and we're in our resolve, but we're nice and polite and professional and logic, and speak well. Don't swear. Don't threaten anybody. Anybody who's calling, for the record, I, Eric the Freedom Screamer, request everybody to call, but anybody who calls swearing or threatening anybody with profanity is obviously not with us. They're with the enemy. They're false flag agent provocateurs who are trying to make us look bad. It happens all the time in every police agency. The intelligence unit guys will call and pretend they're patriots and say, we're going to kill you. We're the patriot militia, and we're coming to break her out, and we're coming with our guns and our bombs and tanks, and we're going to, and they create this atmosphere of fear among the police. I've seen it happen. It happened in Wayne County with Sheriff Barry Burtz. I'll tell you that story another time. But anyway, the front desk that you have to call to get the CEO of the hospital, he does not have a direct line. I wish he did. And no voicemail either. Very suspicious. They've taken away his voicemail, so you have to call between Monday and Friday between 9 to 5. But call and speak to Mr. Vincent Capece, C-A-P-E-C-E. And he's nothing more than a CPA. He's a number cruncher. He was the accountant over at Bridgeport, Connecticut Hospital, and now he's the supreme commander over at the Middlesex Hospital holding Anna Taylor. He is not a doctor. He doesn't have a degree. He's not a medical professional. He's never taken any course in healing. He knows nothing except money. And that's what they're looking at Anna as, money. If they can keep Anna in that psychiatric ward, that hospital is going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in funding just for Anna Taylor's incarceration. So that's what your motive is. Like Chris said, follow the money. Yes, sir, Daniel.
I just wanted to let everybody know that if they go to CourtroomWatch.com or .org, either one,
okay,
the information that you're giving out will be there with the phone numbers for the hospital. There'll also be the phone numbers for this Vincent guy and the lady that's the doctor taking care of her. So we got all that information out there. Thanking Tammy again, once again, for her great job that she did with this.
Yeah, Tammy's with us. We're going to get to Tammy in just a second. That's so cool she called in. I'm glad we're getting everybody in here tonight. Nice work, Daniel. So Daniel's got everything posted up at our website, CourtroomWatch.com. That's Courtroom, C-O-U-R-T-R-O-O-M, Courtroom, as in where the witch's court takes place. The Courtroom Watch. You'll see the eyeball there. That's Daniel's doing, and Daniel does absolutely spectacular work over there, taking care and getting stuff posted up. Tammy, we did a great job of getting all Anna's, because Anna can't do much from the hospital. We're lucky she's on the phone talking with us tonight. And she's hopefully going to call back in during this next hour, and off and on we'll hear from Anna throughout the night. I mean, I don't need to hear anymore. I know she's not crazy. I think you all smart enough listeners over at Single Parents and Courtroom Watch and the Courtroom Observers Network all out there. At the little phone blitz for the old Courtroom Observers. Shout out to all the old Courtroom Observers. I dusted off the journal tonight. I hadn't done a phone blitz in a little while, as completely as I'd like to. It's usually some situations you only need 5 or 10 phone calls. Some situations need hundreds and thousands. And so I dusted off the old journal and phone numbers, and I want to give a shout out to all our listeners out there, not only at Single Parents Helping SingleParents.org, CourtroomWatch.com, all our courtroom observers out there all around the country, Utah, Nevada, New York, New Jersey, Kansas, Florida, South Carolina, Maine. We got them everywhere, and I hope some of our people I sent a text to have tuned in tonight. Just wanted to say hello to all you, and thanks for joining us. We're going to do a phone blitz for Anna Taylor all week, and as long as we need to, because this is a big deal case here. I mean, this one's really big. Wait till you hear more about her psychiatrist, Dr. David Mark Mantell. And so with that, I'm going to give the phone number of the hospital where Anna is staying. So once again, I gave my spiel. Be polite, be professional, be firm, but be well-spoken and don't do anything stupid like swear or threaten anybody, okay? So, but call. But you got to call, because if you don't call, Anna's screwed. They're going to lock her up for life. And did you hear what she said? They're going to forcibly titrate her with antipsychotic medication against her will. That means they're going to tie her down to a table and stick a needle in her arm until she's a vegetable walking around in circles. Those pictures you see of the people at the psychiatric ward, They're not walking around in circles because they're insane. They're walking around in circles because they're on medication and they're drugged out of their minds. So the state can keep them incarcerated and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year per person. Here's the number. Get out your pens and pencils, folks. This is the hospital in Connecticut. I want everybody to start calling, preferably Monday morning, about 10 a.m. And I'd like you to talk to Mr. Vincent Capice in particular. Be nice to the staff, okay? Because otherwise they're going to screw Anna over, and they're not going to let her use the phone. Don't F this up for the rest of us people, or I'm going to be really pissed and I'll find you. That's not a threat. So anyway, but don't do it because you're going to ruin Anna's case. And guess what? God's going to get you. I won't have to do anything. Don't put bad karma out there. Don't false flag us and make Anna and us look bad. Make us look good and do the right thing and call for Anna and just say, hey, I heard this woman speak on Studio 1776 Saturday night. She's perfectly normal. She's actually really smart. She's smarter than the host, Eric the Freedom Screamer. She's smarter than Daniel and Chris Nolly. And she's a brilliant woman. She looks good. She talks well. She's gutsy. She exposed the corruption on the witness stand so she could get it all on public record. Because otherwise she wouldn't have a public record of it. And so this is why what she did was so gutsy and so brave. She's got the brave heart, bro. She's got the brave heart. She went out and she took that system head on with no courtroom observers. There was nobody there for her. I couldn't make it down from New York. She had an attorney, so it's difficult for me to file paperwork when the attorney is involved because it's crossing over, and I can't do that. It'll screw up people's cases. They get pissed off, and pardon my language, but you know what I'm saying. So, but now that Lisa Vincent, the attorney, has betrayed Anna Taylor, the client, now we can file paperwork on her behalf, and I'm going to do a habeas corpus for Anna Taylor, and I want people to pay attention to CourtroomWatch.com, where all this information will be for the phone numbers and the phone blitz. But I want you to particularly pay attention. Look out for the habeas corpus that I'm going to post up within the next couple of days. It's a document, an ancient lawful document. Still, it's in the Constitution. It's accepted in all courts by the attorneys in the bar and the independent lawyers like me who do not carry a bar card but know the law. And it's called a habeas corpus, H-A-B-E-A-S, next word corpus, C-O-R-P-U-S. It means show us the body, must have body. Bring kidnapped victim here forward. Where's Anna Taylor? Where's Chris Cape? Where are these people that the marshals and the PFC's military police are picking up in front of the courthouse and sticking in a psychiatric ward because they did too well in court? All right. So I wanted to take up a minute there while everybody got their pens and pencils out, and here's the number to call: 860. Got to go over this other page here. 358 6000. Once again, 860-358-6000. It's an easy one to remember too. This is Middlesex Hospital in Middletown, Connecticut. On the 7th floor is Anna Taylor, brilliant woman who was with us just earlier tonight, being held against her will, and they're attempting to keep her incarcerated permanently, claiming she's a danger to herself or others. Oh, and the two bits of evidence that they produced are the police saying reportedly there is a threatening text from Miss Taylor. What do you mean reportedly, PFC Hesseltine? Tell us, Mr. Private First Class Army man that kidnapped Anna Taylor, when you write in your report, reportedly there was a threatening text by Anna Taylor against her attorney. Well, where's the text? The first thing by the way, what's the PFC doing filling out an investigative report? Shouldn't it be an investigator, a detective, a lieutenant, at least a sergeant? So he writes, PFC Hesseltine, a low-level goon who's willing to kidnap a woman for no purpose at all other than profit and control. He sounds like the one who's mentally ill. What's he doing writing a report that says, reportedly there was a threatening text involved? Well, why didn't he get his rear end over to the text and look at it? Show me the text. If I came to the state police and said, my neighbor sent me a threatening text, they'd say, let me see it. Can I see it real quick? They'd be nice. I mean, they wouldn't be demanding. They'd be saying, can I mind if I take a look? Where's your evidence, Mr. Eric the Freedom Screamer? If you're going to claim your neighbor sent you a threatening text, let me see. Show me the evidence. Doesn't exist. That's why they're locking her up with a police report from PFC Hesseltine that says, reportedly. What do they mean reportedly? He's not supposed to be arresting and kidnapping people under reportedly. He's supposed to investigate, see the evidence with his own eyes, and then fill out the report and make the arrest if there's indeed some kind of imminent danger. There's obviously no imminent danger from Anna Taylor. She heard her tonight. She's a normal woman, actually really kind of smart. And PFC Hesseltine says reportedly there was a threatening text. Why is he not saying there is a threatening text? Because there isn't one. There is no evidence against Anna Taylor, and that's the main thrust of what they're using, because Mrs. Cristina Sanchez Torres can only come up with words like pressured, tangential, and grandiose when she's describing Anna Taylor. And the last time I looked at my criminal code, the penal law for the state of New York or any other state in this country, Connecticut included, there's no incarceration for grandiose, tangential, and pressured. I'm sorry, those are not criminal actions. Those are not mental illnesses. Once again, pressured, tangential, and grandiose are not crimes. They're not even mental illnesses. They're not even quirks. I'd barely call them character traits. And what business is it of anybody else's if she wants to be grandiose? And first of all, she's not grandiose, but pressured. Imagine that, having a psychological evaluation on yourself that when the psychiatrist looks at you and they fill out the report that says, we got to lock this person up. They're delusional because they're pressured. Well, hey, Mr. Psychiatrist, are you too stupid to go to whoever's applying the pressure and tell them to stop it? How about that? You don't say Anna's pressured. Well, then she's the victim. Who's doing the pressuring? If she's pressured, the pressure's got to be applied by some external force. Anna sounded pretty calm and cool and collected to me. She's not pressuring herself. She's pressured by an out-of-control, corrupt court system. And they were honest enough to use the word pressure, and they think that that's going to be some indication of her mental illness? That's absurd. 860-358-6000. Once again, 860-358-6000. We're going to talk with we want to speak to, here's some suggestions. You may choose to follow these suggestions. Don't swear or do anything threatening or anything stupid. I know our phone blitzes in the past. We had a federal judge in Utah actually say that he's been getting scores of phone calls on the Stephen Dean case, and he said, I don't see any Al-Qaeda here. He said, all I see are people who care about Stephen Dean. And he was getting hundreds of phone calls, and not one of them screwed up and said anything stupid or threatening. That was Federal Judge Benson, to his credit. He was a relatively decent guy, and ended up trying to do the right thing. He knew what the government was doing. The government was trying to claim that patriot equals terrorist. A red-blooded American likes mom, apple pie, and family values, and a clean life and organic living, and that is somehow terrorism is Al-Qaeda. And the judge was really cool. He did us a solid. He said, I don't see any Al-Qaeda here. He used those words, and he said it on the record, and that's from a federal judge, Fourth Circuit, Salt Lake. And he said, I don't see any Al-Qaeda here. That put a veil of protection over the Courtroom Observers Network for Judge Benson to say that. He made a specific point of saying that these phone calls he was getting were not threatening. He said, I don't see any Al-Qaeda here. He said, all I see are people who care very much about Stephen Dean. He said, I got 25 calls in the last 24 hours on this case. And that was 82 days after the arrest. 82 days. 25 calls a day were still coming in to Judge Benson and Sheriff Jim Tracy of Utah County, Utah. And that was the Stephen Dean case. Yep, go ahead, sir.
Well, I have to call the attention and give support to what you just said. When I was doing my assessment in Lakes Crossing Center, I was only there for 30 days, but it was because of the activism, the calls coming into the administration for the hospital, the calls that I was doing out on freedom shows like your Freedom Screamer Net show for Tom Lacavero and ResurrectRepublic.com on RBN, Republic Broadcasting Network, and other stations. I was being called by my friends and associates that were concerned about my welfare, and they were three-waying me in on calls outside where I was able to report on the dangers of the psychotropic drugs that were being administered like candy to the patients that were, a lot of those are methamphetamine-based, so they create a psychoaddictive effect. Some of them are used to wipe your brain and do a chemical lobotomy on you. There are many different forms of advanced psychotropics that are being experimented with the MK Ultra, the Master's Cult of Ra project of psychopolitical warfare, and PSYOPs in the military's psychopolitical warfare divisions that were headed up by General Paul A. LaValle, now retired, with Michael Aquino, allegedly a colonel, and now also retired, I think. There's some strong suggestions attested to by Doug Millar, investigator into these matters, some noteworthy, affiliated with Ted Gunderson, that Michael Aquino is very likely the offspring of
I know. Yeah, well, that's a speculation now, okay, and I would probably agree with that.
It is.
Hold on, I just want to, for our listeners who don't know, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino is an avowed Satanist and Luciferian who was a very high-ranking officer. He was a colonel, I believe, in the U.S. Army, or was it the Air Force? And he was an open in the Army. He's a Colonel Michael Aquino, and you can. And I want to leave. I don't want to go down that detour right now, Chris, because I want two things. I want to stay focused on some other stuff. We're a little closer to every year. That was not tangent. Yeah, it was not too tangential, but I want to let our listeners do their own research on that. Lieutenant Colonel Michael, spell Aquino for it. They know how to spell Michael, but spell his last name, Michael Aquino, the open Satanist.
Aquino. He with Anton LaVey and, of course, others, they created a spun-off from the Church.
Tell our listeners who Anton LaVey is. His picture was on the back of the Eagles album, Hotel California. He's the guy standing overlooking the hotel. Who is Anton LaVey?
Yeah, Anton LaVey was the Church of Satan, and then Aquino and Valali, they set up the Church of Set as a spinoff of that. But you mentioned that your Dr. Mantell came from Germany very likely, and had been part of the experiments there. But I have to tell you, this activism, the people calling in on behalf, calling the vicars and the generals and the other people in the Catholic Church.
It works, doesn't it?
The administrators of the hospital. This activism, it's very easy to make a phone call. And it makes a lot of impact that people are watching. They know the sunshine of light is watching these people very closely to protect them, giving the protective cloak of the Lord over them to watch and protect them, Psalms 9:1:1. And this is greatly important. If you don't have a good grounded spiritual relationship, you can likely not survive these things. I do have to caution that domestic terrorism threat by that attorney saying that her imminent death was likely, I mean, talk about psychopolitical warfare and terrorism to the max. That is a horrific thing to do to somebody that's being taken down into the basement to a star chamber, no telling what kind of black robes and other garbs they may have had to invoke even more terror on this poor woman who is perfectly sane and normal and has a wonderful child that they desire and lust to have very dearly.
Revisited that tidbit. I'm gonna, now that I think about it, since Lisa Vincent turned out to be absolutely evil. We're gonna share Lisa Vincent. Yep.
We have Anna back.
Oh, we got Anna. I better shut up. Okay, Anna, sweetheart, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, but that last part of the conversation there, I have to agree, I really don't know what I'm facing here, but I do.
Well,
I have to...
Go ahead. Talk to our listeners and let them know.
No, you tell me. I mean, look, what I'm facing, I really don't know.
Right.
I mean, but, there's a lot of good people, and I, right here, wrapping around and stuff.
Let me give you a little hope here. We're gonna get you. I'm gonna make a prediction here. I usually don't make predictions. I made two of them on the Bundy case because of what the judge was saying in her statements. I made predictions and they both turned out to be correct. And I'm gonna predict we're gonna have you out of there pretty soon. And I can guarantee we'll get you out and very soon if the public pressure builds up enough to where they won't be able to. So the people out there, this is Anna Taylor speaking to us. She's talking to us from a psychiatric hospital on the 7th floor of the Middlesex Hospital in Middletown, Connecticut. She was scooped up for performing so well in court that she was exposing court corruption, and the military police, listing themselves as PFC, which is private first class, that's a military rank, take her to the emergency room, and then transfer her up to the 7th floor psychiatric ward where Anna Taylor, who's with us on the phone right now and is perfectly normal, is being held against her will. And so I just wanted to reiterate that for listeners who might be tuning in a little late. This is Anna Taylor. She did in court what everybody wishes that they could do. I wish I could do it. I wish I had enough guts to do what Anna did. Go in there alone with no courtroom observers, take on the entire system, and wait till you get on the witness stand to expose your attorney and the court and the judge as being corrupt. Like Anna should be running for governor. Or I'd like to have her as a U.S. senator or a judge or somebody. We need people with integrity who are exposing corruption. We don't need Trump claiming he's a patriot and he's draining the swamp while he refills it with fresh feces every time more corporate CEOs and more corporate officers. And we'll go down that rabbit hole. I don't want to get off on too many detours. I want to stay on Anna's case. I want our listeners to know that Anna Taylor, who's with us right now, is being held against her will. She is being allowed phone calls, and we're very blessed to be able to have her on the air tonight. And I want to thank the hospital staff for allowing her the phone time and all the calls, because we've been having a few extra people call Anna to let them know we're watching. Her case is very important to us. Other people in our movement, like Chris, who's on with us tonight, Chris in Las Vegas, thanks for joining us. Jody in Michigan, who through almost an identical situation, we managed to pressure the courts to release her. Oh, and a bit of good news. Recently, Jody was told by the court that they were terminating her conservatorship, which is where they basically said she's going to be like Anna and have a proxy taking care of all her business, and we're going to drug her into a diaper and take all her stuff and have somebody else run her life. They tried it. It's just what they're trying to do to Anna, who's on with the site. They tried it on Jody. It didn't work because of public pressure. We did a studio. God bless Daniel Leach tonight. Thank you, Daniel. The interview we did for Jody on Studio 1776 really helped keep her out of the psychiatric hospital. And Jody was perfectly normal as well. She called in last night to my broadcast on the Republic Broadcasting Network, Resurrect the Republic, and Jody shared some of her story and did a very good job. She's very well-spoken, very smart. And like Anna, Jody is a brilliant common law scholar. She's a brilliant historian. She's a researcher, and she's got guts. She's not going to be pushed around. She's not afraid to take on the system in a legal and lawful manner. And that's what Anna Taylor did. And the Goon Squad, basically when Anna showed up at court, they took her right away. I mean, they did. There's no case. There's no. The trooper is listing himself as TFC, which is a military title. He's writing, reportedly there was a threatening text. Why is he not going to the person who's offering the evidence and saying, show me the text? If I was I'm not a cop. I'm smart enough to know if somebody comes to me and says, I have a threatening text from so-and-so, I'd say, can I take a look at it and just see what it is? And if they say no, then I'm going to say, hey, buddy, what's the problem? Why can't you show me the text? Now, if the answer is, well, it got deleted or it was accidental, I can tell you, paraphrase. No. If they just say, no, there's no text, no evidence, I mean, come on. And a different story when the cops are involved, it's a higher threshold. It's a higher standard they must be held to. You got to show me the evidence if you're going to lock this woman up. Come on, PFC Hesseltine, Connecticut military policeman. By the way, remember, Connecticut has no more sheriffs. The sheriff, according to LegalDictionary.com, is the chief peace officer in a county or subdivision. That means he's the highest. He's higher than the state troopers. He's higher than the CIA. He's higher than the FBI, and he's higher than the Department of Homeland Gestapo. He's the highest chief peace officer. That's why LegalDictionary.com says chief peace officer. It doesn't say unless the feds come in with a national security letter, or unless the executive branch gives them a directive from the Justice Department. No, the sheriff has the final say. If the sheriff says no, the answer is no. And I want to encourage people to go to the 10th Amendment Center. That's the 10th Amendment Center to see examples of sheriffs all around the country standing up against the federal government on behalf of their citizens. A sheriff in Wisconsin did it for an Amish farmer. A sheriff in Ohio did it for a bridge that was washed out. They wanted to rebuild, and the Army Corps of Engineers said, you can't rebuild that bridge that got washed out in a flood. We need 6 years to do an environmental impact study. An environmental impact study. And the sheriff said, no, we need the bridge in 6 months. And he took his deputies out there and protected the crews while they built the bridge. That's guts. Go ahead, Chris.
Don't forget, Anna's only got 10 minutes at a time, so we might want to get back and see what she has to say.
Thank you. Back to you, Anna.
I'm really speechless. I really can't say a word at this point. I really don't know what to say. There's nothing I could say. I'm just kind of despondent. I know I'm happy. Yeah, exactly. But I'm totally despondent. I really, the outlook is well. The prognosis doesn't look good.
No, I know. They're going to try to do a competency hearing at the hospital and basically leave you there forever. They're not even going to take you to the courthouse for a final, demise at the witch's court. They're coming and doing in the basement of the psychiatric hospital, just like it was the dungeon in the Inquisition. And I'm not out of line here to say that. I'm not hyping. I'm not freedom screaming. This is not hyperbole. This is not exaggeration. They're literally taking her downstairs into the dungeon to do a star chamber court proceeding, and this is Judge Joseph Marino. And it needs to be said that this guy needs to be spoken with. Speak with his court clerk if you can't get through to him directly. Appeal to his conscience. How can you do this to this woman? You know she's no threat to herself or anybody else. We want her released immediately. Immediately. The state of Connecticut only has 72 hours that they can hold her on. Anna should be released tomorrow or the next day if they know, if they're smart, to bear in the eye and try to keep Anna and play hardball and run through with this star chamber proceeding. This is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm going to get louder and louder and louder, and you're never going to hear the end of Anna Taylor. It'll be daily. It'll be a grind. I've got time on RBN this week already booked. Thank you to John Stadtmiller, the owner of the network, and Tom Lacavara, the owner of the broadcast, Resurrect the Republic, for letting me take over the show occasionally this week to keep Anna Taylor's situation at the forefront of people's minds. I don't want people going to bed tonight after their bowl of ice cream and TV and forgetting about Anna. I want you to pray for her before you go to bed, and I want you to start making phone calls on Monday morning, people. Don't bother the staff this weekend. The staff's been pretty cool to Anna. They're feeding her. They're allowing they're allowing her phone calls. I know they're not supposed to be holding her, and that's wrong, and we can talk about that later. But right now I want to go easy on the staff and go hard on the CEO, Vincent Capice, C-A-P as in Peter, E-C-E, Capice. And his first name's Vincent, and he's the CEO and president of the hospital. He'd be what's called the administrator or the director, but they use the terms president and CEO. He's the CEO of a corporation called Middlesex Hospital Incorporated. He is not a doctor. He's not a caregiver. He's not a physician. He's never taken the Hippocratic Oath, which says they will do no harm. He's a number cruncher. He's an accountant. He's a member of the local Rotary Club and the local local Association of Certified Public Accountants in that area. I read his bio. And that's Vincent Capice. He's the CEO of the hospital. He's the one that should be letting Anna go. He should be telling his psychiatrist, hey, look, if you can't show me really something direct reason to hold this woman, let her go. He could care less. This guy, Vincent Capice, he must be evil. He wants to lock up as many Anna Taylors as possible. And he feels that if the police bring them in, then it's somehow legitimate and it somehow makes it okay. The police are the most corrupt profession in the world. I'll never forget calling into 1180 a.m. Bob Lonsberry show in Rochester, New York, and saying, because the guy's an ultimate bootlicker, and I said, the police and the police and the government are the most corrupt profession in the world, in the country. And he said, nah, it's a bunch of baloney. You're just saying that. You just hate the cops. I know you. You're Eric the Freedom Screamer. Blah blah blah. And he said, and he made a big mistake. He tried to back up his absurd claim. Maybe he thought he was telling the truth, but he said, no, the police are corrupt. The police are the best profession in the world. They're the good guys, blah, 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 blah. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? Let's look into that right now. On air, 50,000 watts, broadcast all over the Northeast. Bob Lonsberry types into his search engine, let's see, most corrupt professions. And he goes, this is a bunch of crap. It goes to a commercial break because he found out that the country and the world's most corrupt profession is the police and the government, and so it's indisputable. So how Mr. Capice at the CEO of the hospital, the pencil pusher and the number cruncher and the coin counter, the money changer at Mr. Vincent Capice, how can he think that because the Army kind of into the hospital that somehow that makes it legitimate? So they're going to try to give her a hearing, and they're going to come to the hospital to do it because they don't want her showing up in court again, exposing the corruption on the record like she did last Wednesday, the day before she got kidnapped, incarcerated, not even arrested because there's no charge against her. That's why Anna's not sitting in the witch's jail. She's not in the county lockup. She's not in prison. She's not in jail. They couldn't prove any criminal charge, so they're insidiously and disgustingly using the psychological, as Chris put it, psychological warfare on Anna.
Right, it's like science.
I hate to use that word. I'm trying to go easy on my words to try to keep everything smooth, but it is. It's what it is. And so I don't want to say they've declared war on you, and now it's I don't want them to get any ideas that this has gone into some kind of overt physical conflict because we're trying not to go to the bullet box. We're trying to stay at the ballot box and the soap box, which is the mouth and the speech, and the ballot box, which is the vote, and the bullet box, is the very last resort. But they push people into corners, and I think they want to trigger situations where people have no other choice than to fight for their freedom. Part of Chris's situation, he went outside to protect his property with a pistol in his hand because he has law enforcement training and experience. And the current police that were out front didn't like that. And so they tried, of course, we know all the situation about disarming the people. Just remember this on the guns, folks. Where the guns are, the crime is not. Where the guns are not, the crime is. Okay? So in other words, gun-free zones are the most dangerous place to be because the shooter is going to know they can get away with it. They're not going to be shot. There's not going to be no return fire. So that's why disarming the people is the most dangerous thing for the people. Oh, it's great for the government to get away with whatever they want to do. They'll be coming for the rest of us after they get Anna Taylor all locked up cozy in a room. We're not going to let that happen, people. I hope I speak for everyone listening to this broadcast when I say we are not going to let this happen. We call every day. Now listen, you have every right, people, to call every day any entity that you wish to call. And it's not harassment as long as you have a quote, and this is the legal standard, as long as you have a legitimate purpose. And you have a legitimate purpose. You're interested in Anna's welfare, and a daily update is not out of line considering she's being denied freedom. I think a daily update from all of us is required. I would like 1,000 people listening to this broadcast to make every day. Call once, call the hospital, call the judges' chambers, and call the CEO of the hospital, the judges' chambers, and we're going to get into the vicar general thing because he's the man with the real power. The judicial vicar, or the vicar general, note the use of the military term, is basically the man who pulls the strings of the court and the legislature and the bar from behind the curtain. And he works for the Vatican. You'll have one, just look it up. The Diocese of Rochester, Vicar General Joseph Hart. Diocese of Tampa, Florida, Vicar General Bob Morris. Diocese of Las Vegas, Vicar General Robert Stokig. I could go on and on and on. Every county has a Vicar General. Every big city has one, and that usually covers whatever counties are in that area. But that's your Vatican handler for your local court system is the Vicar General. They do it for profit because all the court cases are bonded and sold on the open market as a real estate investment trust through the insurance companies, and the Vatican owns the controlling interest in all of the world's major insurance companies. So there's your connection to wondering, people wonder, what does the Vatican have to do with it? It has everything to do with it. Once again, follow the money, but at the very top, they have the money. Right now it's about control and research, and this is why the psychiatric system is being used, because they can gain control over people. They can do all kinds of research, and we'll get into that as Anna is when we don't have Anna on the phone. But Anna, is there anything else that you want to discuss with the listeners? I mean, I know it's hard to just come up with talking points here. You've basically gotten everything out there. We've told your story. I just want to keep going back to you so people can just reinforce that you're just a regular chick. You're like the rest of us, except the guys. You're like anybody else. you might have your quirks and your interesting personality traits, but hey, are you really dangerous enough where we the people, are going to let the government that we pay for lock you up forever? Think
right.
about that,
I mean,
people.
a little black toy poodle, registered national service animal, was with me, dressed all dapper. I mean, did I really appear dangerous? I mean, perhaps.
Oh my God. What did they do with your service? What did you do with your service-trained poodle?
Well, my great uncle came as my medical proxy, and they, well, of course, you know, this was an ambush. They obscured that paperwork, but they were threatening, you know, they were threatening animal control and such like that because they were going to put me in the elopement area, and well, it was just terrible because the toy poodle came running loose at the side of the hospital, and then they were going to call animal control again. But the poor toy poodle, he's with a beautiful sheepdog, and she's responds to many whistles. But the reality is that yeah, I mean, what kind of harm was I going to do to the world, really, with a little toy poodle and a little sheepdog sitting outside the courthouse and a 90-year-old man? But I mean, yeah, if people want to say the word New World Order on people's answering machines or through radio broadcasts, and you know, you never know what's knocking at your door or who's pulling you left or right. And Lisa Vincent do this.
Right. If we use the term New World Order, we're labeled as kooky and crazy. But when George Bush got on the floor of the United Nations and used the term New World Order and announced it in a speech and said it's a world of big ideas, it's a world of possibilities, a new world order where we can have world peace and no borders and countries. And great, George Bush, the head of the CIA, who became president after Reagan was conveniently moved aside. He can use the term New World Order. He can announce it at the United Nations in New York City. Have us pay for the whole thing. On our dollar, he did it. And then if we bring it up, we're crazy. Yeah, okay, sure, yeah, right, nice try. So, when Private PFC Hesseltine writes in his report, Anna thinks she's part of an experiment being conducted by the New World Order, and her attorney is in on it. I say, yeah, here. I can hear 100 million people right now across the globe saying, yeah, we're all a part of an experiment by the New World Order, and all the attorneys are in on it. That's why we don't trust them or hire them. But Anna, you thought you'd do the right thing and get a lawyer, and somebody would fight for your rights, and it never works out that way. I'll tell you right now, 95% of the people I've seen hire an attorney have lost. The Bundy situation was an exception because it was such a high-profile case. The attorneys, I think, were more afraid of the public than they were of their controllers in the bar. 95% of the time, the attorneys will sell you out. They'll try to get you to take a plea. They're not going to fight. They're never going to challenge the judge's oath that he took to uphold the Constitution. They're never going to challenge the arresting officers on the public officers law. Most of them are in violation of it. So your attorney's never going to really fight. They're never going to request all the money that the court's making from the bonding of the case. That money should go to the person who's going through court. They're taking out a bond on your case, Anna. This case is probably into the tens of millions of dollars that they made on this case. You should be getting that money. Do you think Lisa Vincent, your attorney, would file to get the proceeds from the bid bond and the performance bond and the payment bond? GSA, General Services Administration Form 275, where they bond the case and then sell it as a fiduciary instrument like it was a piece of real estate, and they call it a real estate investment trust, REIT, and every prisoner is required to sign papers at their sentencing, and those papers that the prisoner signs at the time of sentencing are your Social Security number to the top and remove the little slashes in between the lines, and it becomes one number. It's called a QSIP number, and it's off to a bonding agent to Form 275 from the GSA, General Services Administration, and now it's bonded as a fiduciary instrument, and they sell it to the Chinese, to Goldman Sachs, to the Bank of England, to London, to the Vatican Bank. Anybody who wants to buy it can buy a real estate investment trust that's literally prisoners who are being held in jail, private prisons too. And that's how far we've gone down the toilet. And so do you think Lisa Vincent, Hannah's attorney, would try to get the money from the bid bond and the performance bond from Hannah's case? Of course not. So and most of the time I see the people who do not get an attorney but have a whole bunch of people, activists behind them, they usually win. And I've seen it happen. 2 times recently here in upstate New York just recently. And all across the country, I'd say we have about an 85% success rate in getting people out as activists with no lawyers, just doing what we do. And we'll do the habeas corpus for you. We can fill out. My habeas corpus is as good, if not better, than any attorney's habeas corpus. They're not going to put in their remedy. My habeas corpus will have a remedy. Failure to release Anna is trespass. Trespass requires remedy. $1 silver per second for trespass duration. That means they're on the clock, and the next time you show up in court, you're going to hand them an invoice and say, you owe me this many hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. There you go. Go ahead, Chris.
Just in case Anna's still there, you are not just a regular girl or woman.
Yeah, I know Anna was kind of running good. I wasn't sure what to say. And I can understand Anna's situation. What do you say? I mean, she said it all. She knows she's not crazy. We know she's not crazy. I almost want to leave it at that and just go demand her release down at the Witches Court. Of course, Judge Marino will be out golfing this weekend, enjoying the weather, and while Anna's suffering in a psychiatric ward. So people, do not forget Taylor. She's sitting at the 7th floor in a psychiatric ward against her will. She was kidnapped from the courthouse by military police, and the report says PFC Hesseltine. That's private first class.
Eric, are you still there?
Well, right, with a toy poodle. Yeah, Anna's still with us with a toy poodle. And a 90-year-old uncle as a courtroom observer. They claim that she's a threat to society and take her away to the psychiatric ward. And now they want to keep her there forever. It doesn't look like they want to let her out, and they're going to have to only if there's enough public pressure. So Anna, you finish out the show. Go ahead.
How about Cheryl Martone pressure?
Say that again.
Hello. How about
Anna?
Cheryl Martone, the advocate?
Hi, you.
How you doing?
Oh, we got Cheryl. I'm sorry, I thought it was Tammy. Go ahead, Cheryl. I want to go.
Yeah, Tammy
I just conferenced her.
Conferenced me. I just got through with a play all day long, so I'm kind of tired. But I've been working tirelessly with Tammy to get to the bottom of what's going on, and I've gotten parents released from psych wards where they shove them into to shut them up.
Right.
And we already talked to this doctor that went ahead and examined her without her against her will, against Anna Taylor's will. So we already called the doctor and we told her that if you try to examine her anymore, we will call higher ups at Human Resources and the CEO and blah blah blah. So
they're trying to
we'll take care of her.
They isolate the person and use these techniques, and they're all on the same page. In other words, why wouldn't there be anybody to have their own opinion of a nurse to say, wait a minute, she's not that. They all work together, and that's how all nurses have to be immunized now. Everybody has to follow protocols.
Well, I told that Dr. Sanchez. What was her last name?
Torres Sanchez
that she's not to examine her or do any testing on her without a witness present.
Good thinking.
So I already know the gamut, and they try to do the same thing to me in the same hospital because I called the state police on the DCF in Middletown, Connecticut, because they were holding my child hostage. And they held me there for 24 hours against my will. I said, I'm not drinking your Kool-Aid. I'm not eating your poisonous food because I know you drug stuff. And I'm just going to sit here and read a magazine for however long. And they said, well, you still have to talk to a doctor. I said, why? Because somebody wants to, hide things and make false reports and make you all emotional and hyper. And they smacked my hand. They smacked my phone out of my hand when I was trying to call my boyfriend, threw me in an ambulance, and held my feet down on a bed in the ambulance.
Oh, God.
And I don't want to tell you what I did to the state troopers. I know self-defense. I don't think I should say it on the air. I know I spit in their face. It wasn't too bad, but,
Well, you girls got a lot of guts, man. You Connecticut, you got some patriots down there. I'm really glad you called in. This is Cheryl, patient advocate. We also have Tammy Stroud, who has been jerked around by the court system, and we helped her out a couple years ago. Tammy brought me Anna's case, and I want to thank Tammy and Cheryl for everything they're doing down there. So Tammy Stroud, Cheryl, victims advocate, Anna Taylor sitting in the psychiatric. My hat's off to you ladies. I tell you, you've got more balls.
They're tapping my line.
Oh,
did you see that? I said something about the state troopers, and it hung up.
Oh, join the club. Wait till they hear what's coming next week, because we're going to do a phone blitz. And I want everybody
you're tapping my line.
Now listen, when you're going to the higher ups, we all want to make sure we wind up at the office of Father Stephen Boguslavsky, and his last name is Boguslavsky.
Boguslavsky? Wasn't he a consumer advocate?
Oh, he's the Vicar General for that entire area of Connecticut. He's an extremely powerful man, but he won't tell you that. They try to hide behind their priesthood, and he works for the Vatican directly. He's online. You can find his number.
Wow.
We have it on CourtroomWatch.com. The Vicar General, Stephen Bogus, and there's a Vicar General in every
CourtWatch.com. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a judicial abuse advocate. I'm a judicial abuse advocate and a parent lobbyist.
Get over to CourtroomWatch.com and FreedomScreamRadio.Chatango and go down the rabbit holes. Okay. All right. Now listen.
CourtroomWatch.com.
CourtroomWatch. You'll see the eyeball. Yeah, and they'll see our website.
Okay. Yeah. She's all right. Tammy sent it to me. I know you're short on time, so.
Yeah, I want to make sure all our listeners know you can go to CourtroomWatch.com, and Daniel's posted up pictures of Anna with the baby and the father, so you can see who you're here tonight. And we got the documents that Anna read on air tonight. There, we're going to post a phone blitz for Anna where people can just get where I can text to all my people around the country that they need to activate. And they'll call on Anna's behalf.
I already got somebody that's in the medical field to go with me tomorrow morning. We're going to go up and see Anna tomorrow morning, and we're going to work on putting the crowbar under their asses and move her out.
I love it. Okay, we're going
to try to move her out. So I'm going to have somebody on the phone while we're up there, and I'm going to try to get as many people as I can to come with me.
Maybe we'll do a broadcast. If Daniel's got time tomorrow, maybe we'll do an emergency broadcast, even if it's just a short one where we can broadcast you going down there.
Yeah, because they only have visiting hours at certain time.
Well, okay, well then we can adjust.
It's 2 and 3 in the afternoon,
2 and 3, and then have
then
also evening hours.
Right. But if
what was the other time?
I've got to read the patient right advocate, or you have to be an advocate or a clergy to come at different hours.
Oh, Anna's on the phone?
To find loopholes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cheryl,
fantastic. Hi, Anna. I love you.
Yeah, the Fantastic 4 or 5, I think now. Yes, guys. Hi.
Yeah, we're gonna be the Fantastic 100 on these people. I'm telling you. By the time I get through broadcasting this stuff, I had no time today to do anything. I was in a play all day called Miracles. Yep, the play was called Miracles.
Oh, we're going to look for one. We're going to make one happen. We're going to get one. We're add a couple zeros to that 100. Listen, I want to close out the broadcast by mentioning that Anna's psychiatrist, Dr. David Mark Mantell, who we discussed earlier in the show, I wanted to because this is where the rabbit hole. This really opens up all.
I discovered last year that he's not licensed to work for the state of Connecticut. Hello.
His license was revoked.
He might be a licensed doctor, but he doesn't have a license to work for the state.
Now listen to what he's part of. Dr. Mantell is part of something called the Max Planck Society. Is the new name, the name that after World War II they changed the name from the they changed the name from the Kaiser Wilhelm Society, which was set up in 1911, and they renamed it the Max Planck Society. And I want to take a couple of minutes just to see. For people to know where Anna's psychiatrist is coming from and who this guy is. Now, listen, so as we just heard from Cheryl.
It's a woman. Oh, David Mantell. And then the other one that did the exam on her name.
Woman. No. This is Dr. David Mantell. This is the guy. This is the German doctor.
He's a real whackpot.
Well, it says his license has been revoked for practicing psychiatry, so he's an unlicensed state doctor. He's working for the state of Connecticut as the preferred doctor for the Department of Children and Family Services for the state of Connecticut.
No. He was removed from CVH. We got him removed from CVH last year. Connecticut Valley Hospital.
There's one review for him online, and it says this guy is a fake, and if I could give him 0 stars, it would be too many. That's what his one review says. So now listen to what the Kaiser Wilhelm. Now listen to this. So everybody hold up for a second. Give me 5 minutes. The Kaiser Wilhelm Society, the Kaiser Wilhelm Society was the predecessor to the Max Planck, which Mantell is a part of. So the Kaiser Wilhelm Society for the Advancement of Science was established under the German Empire in 1911. Under the Third Reich, it was involved in Nazi scientific operations, and after the Second World War concluded, its functions were taken over by the Max Planck Society. Okay, did you get that? Kaiser Wilhelm under the Third Reich did Nazi experiments, and then was not shut down after the war. They didn't go on trial. They didn't get obliterated. They got taken over by Max Planck Society. Okay, so now listen to this. The Max Planck Society. Here we go. The Max Planck Society for the Advancement of Science is a formally independent and non-governmental and non-profit association of German research institutes founded in 1911. It is funded by federal and state governments of Germany as well as other sources. Me being the curious guy I am, I wanted to know what those other sources. The Max 81 institutes.
Sounds like profit to me.
Hold on, quiet everybody. 81 institutes within the Max Planck Society. One of those institutes in the Max Planck Society is called the Max Planck Institute of Psychiatry. Now listen to this. The Institute of Psychiatry, Max Planck Society, was founded at the German Institute for Psychiatric Research by King Ludwig III of Bavaria in Munich on February 13th, 1917. The main force behind the institute was the psychiatrist Emil Kraepelin. Substantial funding was received from the Jewish American banker James Loeb, as well as from the Rockefeller Foundation, well into the 1930s. Did you get that, people? The Rockefeller,
the richest people in America.
The Zionist bankers and the Rockefellers were funding the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute right through the Nazis and all their atrocities. And after World War II, they just changed the name to the Max Planck Institute of Psychiatry, and Dr. Mantell and his psychiatrist is a proud member of the Max Planck Society. It lists his primary language. On his biography, it lists Dr. Mantell's primary language is German. So, and you can go online. He's written 2 books. He's written a book called The Possibility of the Potential for Violence in Germany, and the other one, which really was scary, The True Americanism. It's for sale on Amazon, or you can look it up yourself. It's called True Americanism, where Dr. Mantell and a psychiatrist who works for the state of Connecticut now interviewed Special Forces Green Beret U.S. soldiers in a book called True Americanism, in which he analyzed their competitiveness, their aggressiveness, and juxtaposed it against parent-child relations. So when Anna tells you that Dr. Mantell, who was her psychiatrist, is a U.S. Army doctor, she's not kidding. Look it up. Dr. David Mark Mantell.
I know all about him. I already did the research on him.
Well, I know, but Cheryl, I'm sharing this with our listeners. Okay, we're on the radio.
You know deeper stuff than I know. I know how terrible person and doctor he is.
And what I got here is just what I could pull out online. I've got more research to do here. But so we have a long stemming, and by the way, $1.8 billion for the Max Planck Society every year. And that's coming from, like they said, the Zionist banker James Loeb, which is the Kuhn-Loeb Bank, and the Rockefellers, and everybody knows what the Rockefeller Foundation is. I believe Jay Rockefeller is still a U.S. Senator. And so this is how deep the rabbit hole goes.
God.
We're going to be ending here in a couple of minutes. So let me wrap up with a thanks to Anna Taylor Cheryl, who are advocate, who joined us late, and Tammy Stroud, who is all with us tonight. Thank you to Daniel Leach. I want to thank Chris Cave for being with us. I wish we had some more time because I wanted to open up the Max Planck Institute and whatever, all the things that they're doing, all the German Nazi doctors that were involved in the Max Planck and the Kaiser Wilhelm Society research, all of which this Dr. David Mantell is a part of. I thought Anna was stretching it when she told me their doctor was a German Nazi doctor that was a spin, and she's right. It's a Kaiser Wilhelm and the Max Planck.
I already know. Yeah,
they do aerospace research, biological research.
Verified.
It's amazing how deep this rabbit hole goes. And Anna Taylor is the specific victim. Closing words?
It's worse than you know about.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
You and I know. It's worse than you and I know about.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's have Chris on a closing word.
Everyone should get themselves a special, limited, and durable power of medical attorney so they can have someone protect them from these predators that are preying upon people.
Good idea. Good idea.
Well, I have one for my brother right now, and we're being retaliated against. My brother's been in there, and he is succumbing to everything that they want him to do. I have the power of attorney and the healthcare proxy, advanced proxy, and they're not acknowledging it, and they're telling me I can't even call the hospital. They're telling me I can't go there, and I've put it in writing to the CEO with carbon copies to different personnel. And Eric has some of them, but he hasn't had a chance to get to it because this man is one active man. And just for the record, there is an investigation of the Whiting Forensics and CVH of Connecticut. Senator Heather Summers has brought this patient abuse to the forefront. However, they don't realize it's not at the bottom of the scale. It's at the top. It's at the top of the people who are subjecting people and putting them in there.
He's right. The problem is at the head of the snake, which has to be addressed, and that's where we're going to try to put the pressure. And also the executioners at the lower level, the PFCs, the guys, the troopers who arrested and kidnapped Anna. So once again, I want people to go to courtroom. Hold on 1 second. I want to give CourtroomWatch.com. People go there. There's a phone number you need to call. Call the Judge Marino. Call Vincent Capice, the CEO of the hospital, and call the Vicar General, Stephen Boguslawski. He's the guy with the real power. If you start alerting the vicars and the Archbishop of Hartford, Connecticut, that we're watching this case and we need their intervention on behalf of Anna, do the right thing, Mr. Vicar General. You're a priest. You claim to be a godly man. Do godly things and intervene. This matter is egregious. We don't call you with every little nook or cranny that happens with every traffic ticket or every code violation. This is a biggie. So we want you to get involved.
It is a humanity crime. It is a humanity crime.
It's a crime. It's absolutely a crime against humanity. And I want people to go to CourtroomWatch.
Oh, it's medical kidnap. Medical kidnap, it's called.
The government kidnaps people. I want people to realize it's not lawful when the government takes somebody against their will with no charge, and that's kidnapping. So the government is perfectly capable of kidnapping people, and don't let anybody tell you that the police have any authority to do these things they're doing. They have power. They do not have authority.
They have none.
So they want everybody to go to CourtroomWatch.com.
They're just wretched bullies. Wretched bullies.
Remember, the three big, actually 4 entities I'd like to put the pressure on. The Vicar General, Father Stephen Boguslawski, he's the Vicar, V-I-C-A-R, Vicar General for Hartford. I want Judge Joseph Marino, who, by the way, got his law degree from Catholic University. He's going to be very closely related to Mr. Boguslawski and Vincent Capice, the CEO of the hospital, and also get a hold of the state police. Why is Mr. Hesseltine writing a report that says, reportedly there's a threatening text? Why did Private First Class Hesseltine not ask to review and see and have the text in his possession as evidence? There's a question you can ask. Why is Anna Taylor being held beyond the 3-day limit? The state of Connecticut's only lawfully allowed to hold her for 72 hours on a psych hold. They must let her go.
I know.
Number 3, hold on. Well, why is the Judge Marino asking or wanting to do the competency hearing in the basement of or at the hospital? Why is he not allowing this to be done in Supreme Court? The Connecticut Court's website says the mission of the Connecticut courts is to provide justice in a fair and open manner. What is open about doing a proceeding at the hospital where nobody can courtroom observe, where nobody can witness, where nobody can bring a camera, where nobody can see what's going on? That's not an open proceeding. What's going on there? So these are questions that people can ask. They ask, what should I say?
It's from one secret court to another secret court. It's from one secret court to another secret court, and no one knows anything about it.
Okay, so there's some other questions. Hold on, girls. Other questions people might. I'm trying to get solutions here. Hold tight. Other questions people might. Okay, so you've got what relationship does Judge Marino have with the Vicar General Stephen Bogoslawski? The judge went to Catholic University and got a law degree. Stephen Bogoslawski is the Catholic Vicar General in that area. So the two of them have to know each other. Ask the uncomfortable question: what does Judge Marino? Ask it of his clerk. Call Judge Marino to get his clerk. It's going to say, hi, Judge Marino's chambers, or it's going to say county court. And you say, hi, can I have the clerk for Judge Marino? And tell the clerk, say, what authority does the judge have to do the proceeding in secret? Why was Dr. Mantell failing to show up in court? What does he have to hide? Why is the trooper Private First Class Heseltine saying reportedly there's a text? I want to see the text. Judge's clerk, can you please email me a copy of the threatening text that Anna Taylor reportedly sent to her attorney? Show me the text. And now that should be public record. There should be no reason they should resist that.
I know all of them.
If they don't do it, that means they don't have it. Okay, so I'm trying to give our listeners things that they can say over the phone. Like they don't know what to say when they call the judge. They don't know Anna. They don't know this, that.
No, I already know because I spoke to all these people, including Attorney Lisa Vincent.
But we're on the radio. I know, Cheryl, we're on the radio, so I'm trying to get our listeners. It's not a conference call. It's a radio broadcast. So I want to get my listeners active and try to get them, over the hump of what do you say when you call the Vicar General? What do you say when you call the judge's clerk? What are you going to say to the CEO of the hospital? I know what to say. The state of Connecticut only has 3 days to hold her. If at 72 hours you're committing trespass and you're committing kidnapping, which is a felony, you must let her go immediately. Will you let her go? And people, record your phone calls. Check to see first if you're a single-party state. If Connecticut's a single-party state, record the phone call. If you're calling from out of state, doesn't matter. Just make sure that Connecticut has a law that says you can record a phone call without telling the other person. New York has that law. I could be recording a call with anybody I want to and not tell them I'm recording the call and then use that as evidence. That's perfectly legal and lawful in both states. So, but make sure it's called a single-party state. You want to make sure that you are that. And if you're a single-party state, you can record any phone call you want. You don't have to tell the person on the other line. So anyway, I want our listeners to know that there's a nice little activist thing. So I'm trying to get our listeners active and caring about Anna Taylor because if this can come for her, it can come for every one of us. Isn't that right, Chris?
They already been through this.
Hey,
They didn't hold me longer than 24 hours.
Yep.
They already did this. Because
they abuse the power. They abuse and abuse and abuse, and they push it way overboard. And that's why with Heather Summers, with this active investigation of patient abuse, that she thinks is just patient and worker, it's much higher than that. And her telephone number is 860-240-8800. Her legislative aide is Jared Pico. And her press contact number is Melissa Hancock, 860-240-8843.
Yeah, that's okay, Tammy. I want to do your brother's situation in another broadcast where you don't have to kind of get it out there in short order and we can really get breaking down his situation. But, I don't want to overwhelm our listeners with too much tonight.
Exactly.
I want them to focus.
I agree.
Anna's being held against her will. I want to get her out first. Then we're going to focus on your brother. And try to help out, as many people as we can. This gets overwhelming, listeners, so we need your help.
Not for me, because I've already been through it.
Eric,
Not for me, that's why I'm going forward.
Yep.
Tomorrow's a big day for Anna. It's a big day for Anna.
Yep. Moving forward, they know all the players, and I've talked to them all.
And we've got to share that with other people.
Daniel Leach, how much time do we have?
We got about maybe a minute or two, but I did want to say that
I've already been in Judge Marino's court.
Okay, let's hear the last minute with the gentleman here, please.
Well, I just wanted to say that this tweet or this message tonight, I just sent it to Governor Dan Malloy of Connecticut. So this is going to go.
He's the one who's covering a lot of this up.
I tweeted this directly to him, and it's going to be on his Facebook wall, or not his Facebook, but his Twitter. So this is we're going to get this out. We need to share this with as many people as we can. Governors, senators.
Can you please
everybody.
make sure Senator Heather Summers is also contacted? I've left her plenty of messages
the whole
the last
network.
3 weeks.
Hello, people. I have about 2,000 people in my network in Connecticut, around the country. So.
Oh, you do? Listen, we'll get a hold of Dan. Get a hold of Dan. Cheryl, can you call me after the broadcast and I can put you together with Daniel so you can get posted and we can get a look up? Huh?
What's your number?
Do you have my number?
I'll give it to
Cheryl,
you.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Cheryl, I think I've got. Do I have Cheryl's? I've got Cheryl's number, right, Tammy? You gave that to me, correct?
Yes, you do. Yes, you have it.
Yeah, I do. I got it right here.
I'm U.S. Concerned Parents Group.
I got it right here, Cheryl. Here's your number. I think I might have called you earlier. Left you a message. I'm going to call you after the show, Cheryl, and make sure that you and Daniel can get together and hook up your resources.
Oh yeah, my mother was a private investigator. I know what to do.
Oh, that's why you're such a pit bull.
Oh yeah, well, I have an uncle who was a dean of psychology at Miami University. I have a lot of talent and education myself. I don't play. When I go in there, I fear nothing. Nothing.
Well, they prey on the people who don't have this knowledge because they're dumbing down everybody in the state of Connecticut so that they can, abuse them to this degree.
Well, sure.
And they have a protocol, and they're trying to protect this protocol. So
I have
no
faith,
one ever knows.
and I have no fear. I have faith.
That's
what I have faith too.
I want to focus on that.
That's what I'm working on. I couldn't do it without the good Lord on my side, especially those that saved my life in this ordeal as well.
All the credit goes to God.
I know that she's only 100 pounds or less, and she's more of a woman than I know of many men.
God bless Anna.
God bless
you, Anna.
Okay, Tammy, you're breaking up, sweetheart.
We're going to work on it. We're working on going to get you out, Anna. We're working on get you out.
Okay, sounds good. We're gonna make this happen, Anna. Right now, I'm hearing somebody's breaking up, and I'm only getting little bits of Cheryl and Tammy. Your connection's a little bad. So,
probably they're trying to scramble us.
Look, they waited till the very end of the broadcast to scramble us. So God bless them. We got out most of our information. We got Anna on the All right, hold the show. Everybody's got to go on mute for a minute because everybody's breaking up really bad. Daniel, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're breaking up. I don't know. I think it was their connection. So everybody hold on a second. I'm going to wrap up the show now because we're going to say thank you to everybody involved. We're going to encourage our listeners to call Vincent Capice at the hospital. His number is 860-358-6000. The hospital where Anna's staying is 860, not staying, being held. The 860-358-6000. 860-358-6000. Vincent Capice is who we want to speak with and ask him why he's holding Anna longer than 3 days. He doesn't have any lawful right to do so. Call Judge Joseph Marino and require that he give Anna due process at the courthouse, not at the hospital in some secret proceeding. I want you to call the state police and ask him why the state trooper is not asking to see the threatening text. Where's that evidence? How come he's writing reportedly there's a threat? He needs to find out. We need to find out. Just talk to the state police. And when you call the Vicar General, ask him to do God's work, put his God where his mouth is, get into action. I don't care if you think you can get involved in this or not. Go out of your way, Mr. Stephen Boguslawski, to intervene on behalf of Anna Taylor, take her release so she can have due process in the court of law, and then we'll figure out how to, battle in the court to help get her baby back. But right now, she must be released from this forcible incarceration. And I want our listeners to this broadcast right now to call. Don't stop calling. keep calling. You have a right to call every day as long as you have a legitimate purpose, and you do. So don't let anybody tell you you're committing harassment, or you're bothering them. That's too bad. If they're a public entity like a hospital or a court or a vicar general, these people can be called every day, and I'm asking our listeners, begging you, please, on behalf of Anna Taylor, save her life. The only thing that's going to save Anna is you. I'll say it again. The only thing that's going to save Anna Taylor from a life of incarceration and misery is you, the listener. So I'm asking you to get involved. Vincent Capice, the CEO of the hospital, Joseph Marino, the judge, the state police, PFC Hesseltine, the Vicar General, Stephen Boguslawski, and we'll get into more of this exposing of the Dr. David Mantell. I don't think calling him is going to do much good. We're just going to expose him. Mr. Max Planck Society, spinoff of the Kaiser Wilhelm Society, which educated, trained, and facilitated all the Nazis right up to this day. And he's still a part of the Max Planck Society, which does research with the U.S. Army Special Forces, and he's being used by the state of Connecticut as an analyzing doctor for the Department of Family and Children's Services. Ain't that special? So with that, I'm going to thank Daniel Leach. I want to thank Pruitt's Tree Resin and David Pruitt, because he sponsors this broadcast and helps everybody out quite a bit. He's a real gentleman and a scholar and a prepper, and he's a good man, and he really is. I can't say enough about David, not just because he supports the broadcast. He's a wonderful man. He's done more to get people out of jail personally than I could tell you in a 2-hour broadcast, including talking to very high up people and facilitating very quick releases out of solitary confinement, out of prison, out of psychiatric hospitals. Dave Pruitt at pruittstreeresin.com. It's a wonderful man. 4th generation products. Daniel's used them. I've used them. Pruitt's Tree Resin is the stuff for any type of topical injury, wound, cut, bruise, cyst, infection, you name it. Oh, and they make a line of leather care, oil for leather, or tree resin for leather care, and it's the best stuff you could ever use on your shoes, boots, jackets. So I wanted to thank him, because without David Pruitt, this broadcast may not be possible. I want to thank Daniel Leach at Single Parents, helping single parents. Anna is now a single parent because the father of her child was murdered a month ago in Torrington, Connecticut, stabbed to death in the hallway of an apartment building. We'll do a broadcast on that later. We can only get so much out there tonight, but I want people to pray for Anna, advocate for Anna, be an activist. Psalms 9, if you're a Christian, don't sit there waiting for Jesus to return. Jesus was an activist. He didn't sit around waiting for himself to return. Psalms 94:16 says, "Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?" And with that, I'm going to thank the Lord. I'm going to thank everybody listening. Please get involved to help Anna. Maybe someday something will happen to you, listener, and people will be there to help you. If it can happen to the least of our brethren, it can happen to us. So help Anna Taylor by getting active this week. And I'm going to ask if Chris or Daniel or Anna have any closing words. Anna?
Yeah. Noise, and but I just want to I say thank you on behalf of Studio 1776 tonight for everybody that called the program, everybody that cares enough to actually get involved in this program to help save Anna and her baby from being basically thrown away by the government here. And just want to say one more time to check out not Studio 1776 this time, but you're going to find the information, including this broadcast, on CourtroomWatch.com. Again, one more time, CourtroomWatch.com. You'll find all the information that you need, including names, addresses, pictures of these people, pictures of Anna and her baby and her passed away deceased. Thank you for joining us here this evening on Studio 1776, Blog Talk Radio, and we will pick this up hopefully soon. I'm sure we'll be talking offline here. All right, everybody, I'm just going to say good night, God bless, and Godspeed.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.